Okay, so the truth is, before I became parent, I consumed as many materials that I could find on parenting because I wanted to ensure that I know all there is to know about parenting. Okay, and I know fully well that I have seen enough of chaos in the world, sometimes instituted by individuals and sometimes by institutions. And the question is, who parented these people who are behind these things? And so I didn't want to end up, having any regrets in parenting whatsoever. And so, of course, I read as many materials as I could find on parenting. So this is one of such materials. And in fact, this one is distilled in such a way that the 21st century parent, or anybody who will be raising a child in the next century itself, will find very relevant and very important, pertinent to the times that we live in. So Ayotola, for everybody like you who is in this program today, you are making a worthy investment into your future by learning about parenting right here and now. And there are many, many, many things there that you can relate to on the issue of purpose, on the issue of financial intelligence, on the issue of choosing the right school for your child, on managing screen time, which honestly was not much of a big deal 10, 20 years before now. On allowing the children to play on the outdoors, which honestly, you can't blame some people. Right now, people are conscious about allowing their children to play outdoors for security reasons. And so, of course, there are still many other ways we can go around it. And so all of these things are very important. So it's good if you learn them now so that you can prepare ahead of time so that parenting doesn't happen. That's what I would say.
Interesting. So I actually feel really blessed. You're telling me that this is actually a blessing that I'm here now, because I understand that, undoing things may be harder than actually starting the right way. So yes, right. Yeah, I feel very blessed. And I must confess that this is my first book on parenting.
So, awesome. Yes. Lucky you.
It's lucky me, right? Lucky me. You mentioned something about playing outside. Yeah, that will lead to my next question. You said playing outside. Reading that part where you talked about playing outside, I played outside a lot too. A lot. When they will send you on errands and you're supposed to be back in like 5 minutes and you spend like 2 hours because somebody come and play 10. So yes, it was interesting, and you could do that at that point because it was relatively safe, I think, to play outside. And sometimes it's because the neighborhoods are quite safe. You don't have traffic going through. But okay, so my question is, what advice do you have for parents who live in neighborhoods like, say, Ebute Meta? I don't know, but people who know Ebute Meta and how clustered it is and cars going in and out. You don't know which way is one way. So what advice do you have for parents? Because you said having children play outdoors is quite important. So what other activity do you recommend that will substitute for outdoor play?
Okay, well, I can't say that there are as much activities as there are actually outdoor play. Outdoor play also does not necessarily have to be within what the activity is more important really than the setting or than the environment. So a lot of things can actually happen within the living room that involve a lot of moving around, a lot of gross motor skills. I'm trying as much as possible not to go technical here, because trust me, many people may not agree, but teaching involves a lot of technical terms as well. So when we say gross motor skills, we're referring to the kind of movement that involves the limbs and the entire joints of the body, rather than just the fingers and the toes. So, and these movements do develop, or they contribute to the development of cognitive abilities in children. So which can happen in the living room and can therefore substitute for screen time and many other things that even reading books. Yes, as much as reading books are good, the problem with it is it doesn't really involve movement. So yes, it's good. It's important to schedule it. It's one of the activities children should do, but it's also important that children get to move around the house a lot. Okay. Yes, so let me start with outdoors, as much as outdoors as possible. Trust me, safety is first. Safety is paramount. You don't want to raise your child with your teeth in your mouth. Oh, sorry, it's not teeth in your mouth, with your heart in your mouth. Okay. So where you find yourself is in an environment that is not safe, it's therefore important really to, put safety ahead. So don't expose your child out there unless your child is being accompanied. So that's the first option I would give. You can accompany your child. As a parent. You can have somebody else accompany your child. That's my daughter adding her own bits to it. You can have somebody accompanying your child. As a trusted individual accompanying your child outdoors would be very good. And it's something that we as parents can schedule as well. In my environment, I live in Oworoshoki, and anybody who knows Oworoshoki is also very notorious, a notorious place for hooliganism and things like that. And so my daughter, for instance, really wants to experience the outdoors. And so she does a lot of, I want to go outside. I want to, I want to experience the outdoors mainly. And so we do give her the opportunity to do that, but she has to be accompanied. So that's one. So where in the case where you cannot have somebody accompany your child, you have the perimeter of your compound, which I believe is safer. It may not be necessarily altogether safe, depending on the kind of neighbors that you have, but it is safer. So you can make use of the perimeter with your compound, and there are lots of things that you can do on the outdoors. If you don't live in a cemented place, that's another thing. That's a trend now. My own compound was not cemented. We had sand everywhere. And the benefit of having sand is you, apart from interacting with with the earth, it also affords children the opportunity to draw on the floor and do all sorts of sand activities that do help to develop their skills, including cognitive skills. So the children, you can do suwe, you can draw on the floor, you can do all sorts of things that the children would be very excited and happy about, that involves them jumping, moving, hopscotch, skipping, and all of that are things that can be done within the perimeter of a compound. Also, however, if that also is not an option, then let's come a little closer in. And then we're talking about either the living room or even your corridor area. My wife, for instance, does a lot of water play with my child in the house. And that involves taking a bathtub, or what people call basia, a very big bowl whatsoever, put all sorts of materials in there, have the children take a bath in it and stuff like that. It involves, if depending on the age of your child, okay, which is also another important thing. For teenagers, it may be harder. For younger children, it is relatively easier, but for toddlers and other and our babies, it's awesome. They can have a lot of water play, interact with, then have some toys or these things. What are they called? What are they called? Your animals, yes, the various animals. So the toy animals that represent the sea animals. So you use food coloring to color it blue. You don't color the other water, that's not the water that is not salty. You put them in different bowls and just have children interact and relate with them. If you go online, trust me, that's probably another thing I'll do once I take a short break. I'll also give you links of all sorts of activities that can be done indoors with children that can develop their gross motor skills. You can have dance. Dance competition is another thing that we do in our house. Okay, I hope I'm not breaking because it's showing me that my network is unstable. Okay, we have dance. So we do in my house, we have a piano time. And one of the features of the piano time is we play a song and then we dance to it. So that dance activity done maybe with one member of the family, usually it's me and my daughter, that is also another activity that involves a lot of gross motor skills movement. So it's really not about, granted the outdoors is important, the outdoors gives the opportunity to experience nature. That is my preference, but in the event that that is not an option, then the only option you have is to develop the activity, the skills, rather than the outdoor, the nature itself. So that's what I'll recommend.
Okay, so it's not really about where, it's about what they do.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay,
it's about where. It's about where. Outdoors is very important. You can't take that out. Trust me, it is important. But in the event that outdoors is not an option, then you now have what? The activity.
Nice. Okay, before I ask my next question, I'd like to announce that if you're feeling so generous and you'd like to make donations are very accepted. I mean, Lois mentioned it. And you'd like to, if you want to make private ones, sure, you can do that. And if you'd like to announce, just let me know and you'd make announcements. Yes, she said yes. Man, Igbo woman. Okay, for my next question is basically, so this part, when I got here, I thought you were being a bit, because you're a teacher, and you talked about homeschooling till a certain age. My nephews, when they turned 1, everyone was already screaming, when are these people going to school? Because, they're twins, and twin boys can be quite energetic. So you really want to push them out to the teachers. So, I mean, having them at home for 6 years, I cannot imagine it. I can't. But I would be partial to say, oh, maybe because you're a teacher. And then you cited the example of the Hungarian parents. Turns out they were both teachers who homeschooled their children and achieved amazing results. So my question now is, for parents who are busy or have other careers that keeps them busier, how can they achieve a similar result?
Okay, there's no two way about it. There's no rocket science. For parents who are busy, yes, if both are busy, then the option that is available is outsourcing, which honestly is not safe, to be candid. Apart from the issue of safety, it also may not be effective because the children need to be, the child or the children rather, need to be able to bond with the people who's teaching them. I honestly recommend, what I recommend honestly is that at least one parent should decide if homeschooling is the option, is your desire, then one parent needs to be willing to take a more flexible work schedule, which is what my wife is doing. I am the teacher, I am the full-time worker. My wife, on the other hand, is the entrepreneur, so she has a better control of her time. Part of her schedule, she ensures that our daughter is taken care of. For her age, schooling is not every day; it's only 3 days a week. So she has other days that she concentrates fully on business to the extent that my daughter would allow her to do so. So that is the system we work with. I know other people who, both people are entrepreneurs, and they both have full control of their time, and so they also have a schedule that they work with to ensure that they both tutor the child. That honestly is my ultimate goal, but it's likely not to happen in another 2 years. Okay, so the third option is really to outsource it, have somebody else come to the house, or maybe an uncle or somebody who's very willing to commit, a family member who's willing to commit to that venture. Okay, so really, that's very straightforward.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the information for donations are up. So if you want to make donations, and I think there's a question in the chat. It should be.
Yes, somebody's asked about is the book free for downloading? Yes, one chapter. There's a chapter, one very key chapter that matters to all of us, especially in Nigeria, is available for download free. So my wife will post the link now. You just go to www.penspeakers.com. Penspeakers is my blog, so go to penspeakers.com/smartbook. You will see the form there that allows you to download it to be sent straight to your email address. But if you want the full book, you purchase it for 3,000 e-copy. There are hard copies available at 5,000. We'll dispatch that to your address. Okay, somebody says I should show the hard copy. This is the hard copy.
Okay, so that's the information if you want it. And really, this is not just me saying, but it's a book you need to get. And at least I read it and I had like all of these things put together, like, okay, let's see. I actually had a notepad for this because now I'm already getting to the market of having my own children. Yeah, so I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't know if that's possible, but I don't want to. Okay, so my next question. Okay, there's this part. I hope I'm not giving spoilers by my questions. Anyway, I'm just jumping into it. So there's this part about having children make decisions. I experienced a bit of this. It's not something common, but I experienced a bit of this. But it was because the fact that it's not common, right? So I'm growing up, and then they just give you that opportunity to make decisions. You want to use your sense. You don't want to misbehave. So once they tell you it's okay to make decisions, you are staying within the lines that are acceptable. So here, but today, you know that kids today are raised differently. In fact, it looks like they are born differently. So they come with different energy, and you can just allow them a little power and they go overboard with it. So how can you allow children the decision-making power in a way, and they don't go overboard? I mean, what's the line that you get to?
Okay, so if children are not given the opportunity to make decisions, then they'll be very unlikely to take risks in the future. And I think it's important to start as early as possible, even as early as 1 year old. And now, of course, the kind of decisions they should make would definitely be affecting them in particular, not affecting the whole family. So limited to that, depending on the age of the child. Of course, as the child grows older, you therefore will extend the ability to allow the child to take some risk that may affect other people. And by other people, it could be the family members, it could be some friends, it could be classmates and things like that generally. Of course, we know that there can be, we can't go into details of what kind of decision that would entail. So I would therefore say that for a child who's probably a toddler or children between ages 2 to 8, they're about primary age children, you therefore would want them to choose for themselves the clubs they want to attend if there's a club whatsoever, and then let them explain the reasons behind their decision. Why exactly have you chosen that club? Or for instance, if they say, so take for instance, you don't want to leave the decision of the choice of the school to your child of primary age, but you might want to involve the child in that decision-making process. Okay, say we visited a number of schools, so what's your motivation? If a child, some children might be drawn to aesthetics. Oh, the football pitch is really large and stuff like that. It might seem silly though, but ask what exactly is the motivation for choosing a school based on the fact that it has a large football pitch. That therefore gives an inclination into the child's interest in sports. And you probably also want to hone in on that skill, maybe develop it, or perhaps there's something in there that the child has not had an opportunity to express before now. So you want to engage the child in the decision-making process. Don't just make blanket decisions for the children and expect them to accept it simply because you're dad or mom. You want to get their input in the decision-making process. Yet, you still have the authority to make the decision, and you also should explain to the child the motivation behind your choice, why exactly you have made that decision on behalf of the child. Okay? Sometimes we make decisions based on proximity. So, however, I would recommend, honestly, that you may want to vary maybe a choice of school, for instance, based on proximity. Many other opportunities that you can allow for the choice of school, but we'll come to that discussion later on. But I'll just say that let the child be involved in the decision-making process so that the child, when the child is old enough to make some decisions of his or her own, he therefore has engaged in a mental process in decision-making, and that's therefore beneficial for him or her. So that's what I'll say. Of course, later on, as the child grows older, the child therefore is able to take some risk and making some decisions. And even when the decision he or she has made flops, please don't stay in the position of saying, I told you so. Help the child walk through the failure. Allow the child to know fully well that it's part of life. So you have an opportunity to revise your decision. You have an opportunity to make a better decision next time. Have you learned from it? Because honestly, there's nothing like failure. There are only lessons and successes. So where we don't do well, we learn better to do better. But where we do fail, then where we do succeed, then there's a bit of trap in success sometimes. We still need to learn how exactly we succeeded so that we can learn better. So all of these processes are important for children to go through. If we don't take them through that process, then they will depend on us for the rest of their lives. And honestly, you don't want to raise a child who's dependent on you before he takes a decision.
Amazing, fantastic. If you have learned anything so far, please use the reaction emoji that you favor the most, whether clap or anything. Let's know that we're not here together, because I'm drawn into this and it's very easy to actually forget that we have everyone else here. So please use the reaction. Amazing, amazing. Anyone else? Cool. Okay, so before you move on to the next, we move on to the next bit of this. Let me just ask this one question. So this is on spiritual development, really. You know, like generally we are concerned about the school our children go to, what they do for pastime, where they go on vacation, but nobody really cares about, okay, the spiritual development of this child. I mean, we're not just body and what have you. So this spiritual, like, so what's your advice in this area for parents?
Very vital question. Thank you. I would say really that we need to reward spiritual development of children as much as we reward academic excellence and excellence in activities, sports, and things like that. So sometimes we give children goals and say things like, if you perform very well academically, like if you hit 90%, I will reward you with a trip to Paris, to Disneyland, or just maybe it's anywhere in the world that you want to go to, and I'll reward you. Children end up doing very well. And of course, as a good parent, you will fulfill your promise. Yet they have very little motivation for spiritual development. I would like us to revise that and say, granted, two things attached to it, academic success, and of course, maybe give a particular goal, read the whole book of the Bible, or read the entire book from cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation, for instance. Or for instance, another spiritual development activity is charity. Determine a particular project that you want to do, a community development project that is tied to something in the scriptures, or that is tied to something that somebody in the Bible had done. So you can have an Elijah project, for instance. You can have a David project, you can have a Solomon project, whatever it is, depending on whoever inspires you in the scripture, and say, let's do something. Let's do something in relation to this. So for instance, Jesus says that if you want to invite people for your birthday party, or rather for any celebration, don't invite people who can invite you. Rather invite people who don't have an opportunity to invite you. So you can decide that, okay, my dear son, for your next 10th birthday, or something like that, just an idea that you sell to your child and say, oh, just let the child read the Bible and implement something in the Bible, just something like that. Okay, and that's a spiritual project, and the child is involved in the planning and all of that. And once it is executed, if you do this very well, I will give you so as a reward. And the child goes ahead and executes the project, or reads the Bible cover to cover, or decides to have a prayer list of 100 people that he or she's praying for and follows up on, maybe for whatever it is. Any spiritual project whatsoever, think of a reward system that is inspiring enough to help the child execute it. And therefore, you would be raising a child who's not just spiritually conscious, but also morally developed and helping the community and helping the nation as well. So that's the lead purpose.
Okay, I mean, the spiritual bit is as important, and it should be like a project, just like every single thing. So you should make them know, right?
Oh, by the way, I should say though that this is recommended in the book. It's one of the things that I should recommend in the book. I just added some adjustments to it. I'm glad this is recorded so I can put it in the second edition.
Okay, nice. So we're already hearing that there's a second edition, right? Okay, cool. Okay, so we have come to the end of my own questions for now, and over to you for the next bit.
Okay, thank you so much, Ayatollah, for those very thought-provoking questions. I'm glad that the temperature on the seat has not increased to 57. It's still the 32 or whatever it was before I started it. It wasn't so much of a hot seat. All right, so at this point, okay, thank you. Without further ado, so that we don't take much of our time, I'd like to introduce the next speaker, or rather the first speaker. That's Mr. Adeolu Akemi. There's no profile whatsoever, because if I decide to read his profile, I'll probably be doing it for another 10 minutes. Yeah, he's an awesome person. The only profile I would say is Mr. Adeolu Akemi is my teacher. So I am a teacher, but he taught me before I started teaching, or before I dreamed of teaching. It's one of the inspirations behind my desire to go into teaching. He taught me when I was a teenager, when I was trying to find purpose in life. He was one of the people that God used to help me to find purpose. He also helped me to learn about teamwork, learn about collaboration, and now he's my pastor. He's pastor of Heaven Citizens Christian Center. Okay, the image. Ladies and gentlemen, please, without further ado, I'd like you to make welcome Pastor Adeolu Akemi for his first session.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be here. Well done, Uncle Leke. Uncle Leke is
Thank you, sir.
He's one of, yeah. He's one of we uncles for life. So very quickly today, I'd like to just put a few thoughts. My own assignment is to talk about how to help your children become more collaborative risk takers. But the first thing I'd like to say before I start is, if you have a copy of the book already, you have paid, while this was going on, you have made a donation, I would like you to just type yes in that chat window, in case you have made a donation. In case you have not made a donation, somebody said he's expected to see a very old man. So that's the account number there. I want us to let this be a good event. So I did my own, I did a little contribution just to test the account and to save the account. So I want to encourage everybody to do the same thing as well, to say, what, this is, I'm contributing to this. I want a copy of the book. I want 2 copies of the book. I want 3 copies of the book. We can begin to make that happen as we progress. So very quickly, I will, if I can share my screen, I'll just quickly share something with you. I can see a few yeses. Well done. If your answer is not yes, good. If your answer is not yes, take that account number and don't waste time. I tell people the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Now, I typically usually have some slides to share what I want to share. So I'll be sharing for like 7 minutes. And I have some, quick slides to just share with us on these key thoughts. And if you miss any of my thoughts, I will say, get a copy of the book. We all read about subjects that we want to be exceptional in. I tell people, if you are serious about your finances, then you must have read enough books about about finances equal to your age. So if you are 50 years old, you need to have read 50 books about finance to demonstrate your seriousness. If you are 30, then you should have read 30 books about finance to demonstrate your seriousness. About parenting, okay, an institution that is God created, that is the actual institution that develops the future of raising children and raising them to be proper human beings that can take responsibility for their lives. How many books about parenting have you read? Now, if you are serious and you have not read as many books as your age, this is a very good book to start with. So I'm going to encourage everybody who is here today, this is a book you can start with. You can start with this book, get a copy, start reading, and let's go on. So today I want to talk about raising collaborative risk takers. There's a very interesting concept. People ask, is our education system in Nigeria bad? Are things really good? Should I send my children abroad? How do I know if my child has turned out well? How do I know if all the things that I did, if they worked or not? How will I be clear that my interventions in the life of my children actually worked? Okay, the only way I will ever be sure is really by asking myself a fundamental question: have they become dependent, or are they independent, or are they interdependent? And I think, the major play of ensuring that your kids are interdependent, because that's where you want to be, is a sequence of things that you need to do with them. And a number of those things I have seen already highlighted in the book. Now, this is a very interesting table. It's called the Maturity Continuum. And it says that the journey of our lives is from dependence to independence to interdependence. Okay, that we're journeying through life. We're growing from a stage where we are dependent to a place where we become independent. And ultimately, you want your child to become interdependent, meaning that they can hold their own ground, they can take responsibility, and they can work with others collaboratively. In this world, we have countries that are dependent. Nigeria was dependent in 1959. Nigeria became independent in 1960. Our major struggle as a nation is a journey towards interdependence. Okay, we are still arguing, I'm Yoruba, somebody is Igbo, somebody is Hausa. We have not learned to collaborate and coexist together, even as a nation. Now, this is something that you want to watch happen in the development of your child. Your child needs to grow from dependence to independence, from independence to interdependence. And guess what? I'm not talking about just physical independence or growing and leaving your house. Some people have left their houses, but they are still tied to their parents' apron strings. Some people are working in companies, but they are still independent. They've not learned to be interdependent, and they cannot achieve the highest results possible for them. Now, how do I help my children grow along this path? Very simple. Your children must learn certain skills and habits. And I'm very excited that in that book, Smart Parenting, many of those skill sets, many of those habits were listed very clearly as things that your children need to develop capacity in. Now, this is not a very, this is not a list you can really exhaust, but if your children learn how to do these 7 key items here, then you will have raised phenomenal children. Okay. And so the question to ask yourself is, how do I make my child able to make decisions? How do I help my child to be able to set goals and run towards them? How do I help my child to prioritize, to know what is important and what is not important, to know and distinguish between what is urgent and what is not urgent? How do I help my child to have consideration for others, or to understand others? Somebody says we're giving 2 ears and 1 mouth. It means we're supposed to use our ears twice as much as we use our mouth. Okay, you measure twice before you cut once. And of course, listening is a very crucial element for understanding people. We need to learn to work together with others and to constantly be able to develop ourselves. Now, your child may be a toddler, but that child is going to grow, So for me today, for example, my son came a few minutes ago and said he wanted to go out and go and have a meeting with his friends, and that he wants to meet somewhere in Ikeja. He wants to take boats and go there. And I asked him a few questions. Now, that's somebody who was a baby just a few years ago, and I'm looking at it now. He wants to take, he's taking boats, he's going out, he wants to go and meet with his friends, and I'm saying, what's the budget? How much do you need? Has he thought about it? Have you seen? Yeah, I say, yeah, he's thought about it. He knows how much he needs. He knows what he wants to do. He's going to do that, and he'll be back by this time. Now, what's going on? That's somebody who has grown, but the challenge, the process from whatever age you start to work on your child, whatever age your child is today, till the age where they become, teenagers, semi-adults, is teaching them how they can develop these skills. And what's the easiest way to teach the skills? Okay, the easiest way to teach the skills is let them have problems to solve. Okay, let them have problems to solve. Okay, get out of their way to solve it, guide them if they ask. Okay, and ensure that there are always lesson sessions to reinforce. And you need a resource. You need a resource that can help you, that can guide you, that can help you understand, this is what I need to, to see ahead. If you want to parent your children by looking at things as they're happening, you will yourself be learning as they're learning. But if you want to be able to guide them, then you must be able to see the full journey before they start their own. That's why a resource like this is important. You can grab a copy of the book, read it, and make it a manual to help you guide, to say, what do I need my children to learn? What skills do I need them to have? Because it's only as they develop the skills that they are able to collaborate well with others and they are able to take risks. I was putting something on my page a few days ago. I said, life is a sequence of problem-solving exercises. You will never outgrow problem solving. You will never get to the point where they are not solving any problem. So you need to teach your children that yes, you will have challenges. Yes, you will have failures, but you need to learn to take them. And I'll tell you something very quickly as I wrap up. One of the things I realized when my children were already growing in primary school, I asked myself, do they know how to break down money into change? Can they pay 500 naira and collect the adequate change? Something as basic as that. Can they cross the road? Primary 1, can they cross the road on their way to school? Or do I need to hold their hands and drop them with the car? Now, these are problems that if they do not face, if I send them to anywhere where there's so much comfort and they don't face the problems of being able to cross the road, or being able to buy things from school, what they want to eat, collect change and plan for the next day, or being able to be proactive to know that, I'm not taking food from home tomorrow. I'm going to get to school to buy. Do I have the resources? Have I saved from yesterday? Am I saving? If they do not face challenges, they cannot solve problems. If they cannot solve problems, they cannot be independent. And if they cannot be independent, then I will not raise children that are able to strike it out on their own. So it's a failure of parenting. Okay, when we have to always look over their shoulders and get worried. My daughter went for a birthday. When is she coming back? Is there transport? How will she get back? Ladies and gentlemen, I remember what I could do at primary 1. Of course, it looked like maybe, we wonder maybe our parents were not there or something. But guess what? The problems they allowed us to face and the guidance they provided us allowed us to develop the capacity to become independent. And then in our own journeys of personal development, and relating with people, we have learned to become interdependent, to work in symbiotic relationships, to work in win-win relationships, to work with synergy, and to grow to become people who can drive huge and big things together. So my, cursory advice and admonition to everybody here today is this book is actually, is a product of years of teaching. It's a product of years of observation. And you will do yourself a service of getting a copy for yourself. And if you have any other parent around you that you love, that you care for, grab a copy for them as well. The best way we can encourage people who are creating knowledge is by investing in what they are doing. You know, I made up my mind about something a few weeks ago. I told myself, every time anybody sells me anything in traffic, I will not price it. And I made that decision. I will not price it. I will ask for the price and I'll just pay. Why? Because the person who is offering value is better than the person who is begging for money. And for every time I gave money to somebody begging, I asked myself, what value am I contributing to those who are making value available, you know, by their efforts wherever they find themselves? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's great having you around today. I want to say, you know, this book is good for you to help you with parenting your children. And guess what? If your children are well parented and well groomed and your neighbor's children are not, then they become a liability to them as well. So let's get the book and let's spread the love. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Ayatollah, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was quite intense. I learned a couple of things there, to be honest. Okay, so I really don't want to waste so much time because I feel like we're behind schedule at this point. So I'd like to introduce a couple of people who have read the book and would love to give a review for just 1 minute. And first welcome Mrs. Morenike Alalade. Is she here? Mrs. Morenike Alalade.
Yes, I'm here. Wow.
Okay.
Welcome. My daughter, please, 1 minute. Sorry.
Okay. We can move to the next person in the time being. Mrs. Alima Folorunsho. So after her, you can. Mrs. Alima, is she on the call?
She's probably on the road. Alima is always on the road.
Okay, so
okay,
next.
yes, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, sorry
welcome.
Sorry for
No,
that.
that's fine.
It's my baby. Yeah.
It's about parenting. You have to go for your child first.
So I'm Alalade Morenike. The Smart Book for Smart Parents by Leke Amao. Really, I love this book because it's a comprehensive guide for parenting. Really, it's not long. It's just about 170 pages, and each chapter is actually very short. So it keeps me going. That okay, I can quickly finish the next chapter. After that, I can quickly finish the next chapter, and it kept me going like that. And then the end of every chapter has where you have to think and jot out points where action points that you want to start taking immediately. You know, learning something and actually putting down action points that you want to really start. Because it's not only about knowing things, but doing it. You know, putting down action points of what you want to start to do. And then the fact that it's well-rounded. You know, you just talked about physical development. It's in the book for your child. Emotional intelligence. If you want to build your children to be emotionally strong, you have points on that. For spiritual development of your child, you have that. So it's a very good book in raising wholesome children, well-rounded, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And my brother, I must say that this is from a very rich and deep experience of a very purposeful and passionate father and an educator that you are. It's very, very practical. You know, reading this book will definitely make you, it has already made me a better parent. You know, any parent that gets hold of this book, it will help you to be a better parent. It's a great support for raising children that will grow into impactful citizens. You know, what is happening right now in our world is because of how our parents were raised or how we are raised. So having this book is a very, very good guide for parents in raising very good children. You know, I really, truly appreciate Leke Amao for this, for your investment of time and resources in putting this together. I must say thank you very much, and God bless you greatly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so the next person, is she here now? This is Alima Folorusho. No? Okay, we can go to the next person for now. Mrs. Eniola Dejibalogun. I don't know if that's a message though. Eniola Dejibalogun. That feels like a unisex name.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Okay, good evening. Welcome. Please
Yes,
share
thank
your
you very
view.
much. No, I can't.
Sorry?
Daniela already mentioned that she can't turn on her video, so it's fine.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, what can I say? I think this book came in right on time for me. I was actually looking for a school to enroll my son in the next for this coming session, and then I reached out to Leke. I know Leke, you're a teacher, 10 years, award-winning. I followed you on Facebook. I've learned a couple of things from you. I need a school. What should I look out for in a school? And then he told me what to do. I should ensure that my values connect to the values of the school. You know, they have the values that I'm looking for so that my child has a 360-degree experience between at home and in school. I went on Facebook and I saw that he had made a post that he has a book, and then for pre-order, and we can actually download a free chapter. And then I downloaded the free chapter, and it answered the question I was looking for, exactly everything he had told me. The book just expatiated on it, and I didn't even think twice about it. I just bought the book immediately. And buying this book is not even a book, it's almost like a devotional. It is always with me in my bag. It's always within my bag, because when something just pops up, oh, I'm having this issue, or how do I sort out this issue with my child, or what do I need to do to get my child from here to here? I just pick it out, go through the content. Oh, they are talking about it here. I read it and I just start implementing immediately. It is a very practical book. It is not theory. It's not theoretical. It is a very, very practical book. It goes from finances to diet, what your child can eat, to cognitive exercises, to screen time, to purpose. It's a 360-degree book. I don't need to dive into it because I think the previous reviewer has already done that. But I would just advise. I'm so lucky. I would even count myself lucky because this is my first child and he's just 2. So I'm so lucky that I got hold of this book right at when he's just going to be exposed to the world, when I'm just taking it into the world. Now I know what to do. I mean, there's some areas I'm still struggling with, but at least I have it behind my mind that I shouldn't be doing this. This is what I should do. So the lady had already said it, that the chapters are very short. You can just pick up 2 points, 3 points to implement, as time goes by. I'm sure you'll be able to adjust with wherever you may be struggling with your child's development. But I would really advise that any parent, you have a young child, or even to early teenage years, I think you need to get a hold of this book. And it's also very, localized to the African, not that other people in other countries can really, but for the African continent, it's very, very, very localized. You talk about the culture, how culture can actually make or mar a child's development is right here in this book. So please sacrifice that 5,000 naira or 3,000. I would prefer the 5,000 because, as I said, it's everywhere, wherever I am. Take it with me. My book already has dog ears because I have read and overread itself. There are some chapters I've not even touched because I feel like I've not really gotten, to that stage with my son. But where my son is right now, those chapters, getting a school for him, cognitive exercises, the kind of foods you should be eating, playing outside when he's bored, how to establish a goal. He has not even gotten to that part yet, but I'm really reading it already. So please try and get this book. And thank you, Leke. Thank you so much for writing this book, for pointing out your years of experiences, your years of experience into this book. I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm sure that every child, every parent that would read this book would also appreciate it. Again, it is not a book, it's like a devotional. It should not be in your library. It should be by your bed when you want to go to bed at night. You pick it up, you just go through it. It should be in your bag when you're in transit, you're reading it. It should just be somewhere where you are or where you are regularly, not just on your in your library stand. Thank you very much, Liki. And thank you, Ayatollah.
Thank you so much for that full
Thank you,
review,
Aniela.
practice on the whole book. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So Mrs. Alima isn't here yet. Okay.
Alima is not able to make it in yet because of the maximum capacity this can take. We're trying to see the possibility of streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Anyway, but she'll join us later on once there's room.
Okay. So yeah, like the two people that just gave the review said, I think this is a really good book for everyone. And I don't even think it's for parents alone, because I feel like everyone has a part to play in parenting. So everyone should just know. So when you are an assistant parent like I am, you should know when to back off and not do too much. Okay, Mrs. Wanika is raising her hand. Do you want to give a quick review before we move on now? Okay.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. I'm actually logging in all the way from Ottawa in Ontario, Canada. I had to join. It is about 12 noon here in Canada, and I just have a little comment. I bought the book without even thinking about buying the book. Like, as soon as I heard that Mr. Leke had a book, I knew I had to get the book. Some reasons why I did that is that I've known Mr. Leke for maybe 10 years now. 3 of my children actually passed through Mr. Leke's tutelage. I have 2 sons that went through his class, and I had 1 daughter that just knew him based on the Writers Club, you know, and other stuff. So Mr. Leke actually even tutored my daughter into writing a book. He reviewed that book, and the book was published so many years ago. I can't even remember when. So he has been an amazing teacher. He's an amazing person. Like, my family, even though we are no longer in Nigeria, never disconnected from him. So he has been some kind of great mentor for us. We fall back on him, even though we've passed through his class, and you know, the children are now in high school, but he tutored them while they were in, you know, elementary, primary school. So this book I will recommend for everyone, not just for yourselves, buy for your friends and family. I bought for myself and my sister, and I have plans of buying for other people that I love, because it came as a short notice for me. I'm also planning to get the e-copy so I can share out with people, share to other people to read the book. I know that Mr. Leke's experience has really touched my life. Everything, even after looking at the preview of the book, is what he had taught my children. My children had turned out the exact way he had taught them to be. And I'm so, I'll count myself a blessed parent to have met with him, and for him to have been my class teacher. If I have another child, which I don't plan to, I will send that child back to Mr. Leke's class, irrespective of where he is. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining. And I really encourage everyone to get this book. And thank you, Mr. Leke, for your great work. God bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm
so
blushing.
much.
I'm blushing.
Open to my screen.
Angela, are you there?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm back. I just had it minor. Okay, so
I just said I was
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mrs.
If you're having
Hamilton.
second thoughts about getting the book, I'm sure these reviews would actually set you on the right path. Start making your order right now and get your own book. So please, let's move on to the next speaker. Kindly introduce the next speaker.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much once again, Mrs. Ahotu. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this, towards the end of this, we'll actually have opportunities for people who have some things to share, maybe about the book or about the author. But that's very thoughtful. I appreciate those kind words, Mrs. Ahotu. Please give us another child, but this time, Mr. Alomo is no longer in the classroom, but I'll supervise whatever goes on. All right, yes, at this point, I'll introduce the second speaker. The second speaker is somebody I have known for about 7 years, 8 years actually. Her name is Gojubola Sani. She's an awesome person. In fact, I appreciate the sacrifice she's making to be here. It's actually a bit inconvenient for her, but she says, oh, no matter what, she has to be here today. Gojubola Sani is somebody you would like to listen to. She'll be speaking briefly on the issue of financial intelligence. It's somebody I have learned a lot from about financial intelligence. I wrote in the book that I knew very little about making money, but she's one of the people who has taught me how to make money. And so she'll be here to teach your child how to make money as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please put yourself together for Gojubola Sani, or just give some reaction.
Woo, Auntie Baju! Good afternoon. It's so good to be here. You know, different things have happened today that almost wasn't going to make it possible for me to be here, but I'm grateful I'm here. So I'll just go straight so I won't take too much of our time. When Pastor Diolu was talking, I was like, it looks like we're going to be seeing some similar things, because in the process of teaching your children about money, you are teaching them some skills and habits that will help them later in life. Skills like setting goals, helping people. I can't remember, exactly the way he wrote it, but as I continue, I'm sure you will understand what I'm saying. Teaching children about money is sort of like a controversial topic, because I don't think every parent understands why they need to teach their children about money. I think the first thing I'll say is teaching children about money is about values, is about helping them to understand how life is, much more than naira, kobo, dollar, pounds, or whatever your currency is much more than that. And how can you raise, the topic I have for today is how to raise financially smart children. So the first thing I'll say is, as parents, we need to lead by example. Pastor Diolu already mentioned it earlier that, you have to be ahead, you have to know some of these things so that you'll be able to pass it on to your children. So the first question, how you, as a parent or a parent to be, do you know about money? How are you putting in to ensure that you have a basic understanding of money? What's your level, your literacy level when it comes to finances? What do you know about making money? What do you know about managing it? What do you know about multiplying it? Some of these things you need to be able to understand as a parent, and then you'll be able to help your children. The truth is, children will usually do what we do and not what we say. You can give them a lot of instructions, but many a times it's easier to copy than to take instructions. So you find, I'm sure some of us will even find ourselves already behaving like our parents in terms of finances, even though we really didn't want to go that way. So you need to be conscious of the fact that the first thing when it comes to financial literacy is that you need to lead by example. And then I'll go to the next point, which is start early. I can't remember what Teacher Leke was talking about, or Leke was talking about earlier, but he mentioned about starting as early as 1. For money, we can start as early as 2 years of age. I sometimes qualify it by saying that as soon as your child can count, you need to begin to teach them about money. And it's not anything that is sophisticated. It's not that you have to go above their heads to start talking about stock market and cryptocurrency and all the things that seem to be a bit more technical. But it's just to begin to help them to understand the money with spending it, There was a time I had the opportunity. I've done that a couple of times, but there was a time I taught some pre-nursery children, and I asked, usually, what do you do with money? That's what I asked children. And, or what do you know about money? And most of the time, what children say is spend. So you can imagine, children understand how to spend money, even though they don't know anything about making it and the other aspects of money, which is managing it also. So you need to be able to help them to create that balance from as early as possible. And how do you do this? Teach them to save, teach them to give, teach them to, of course, spend. Yeah, spending is not a bad thing. You just need to spend wisely. And as much as you want to teach them, you also need to allow them to practice it. You know, sometimes we want to teach them, but we feel it's not safe to allow them to handle money. There's nothing really bad with a child handling money. And one of the ways you can do this is to begin to practice, allow them to practice with an allowance. You know, so for children that are less than, that are not yet teenagers, then let me say it that way. Teach them the 3 S of money. That's save, share, spend. I know one of the things Pastor Dele had mentioned, and which Uncle Leke also mentioned, was giving, you know, sharing, helping other people. So you need to help your children to understand the balance between saving, sharing, and is, you know, becoming a team. The next thing you need to begin to help them to understand is how to make money. Yeah, younger children can even learn. You can begin to understand that, but you know, you need to also give them time to mature so that they can begin to make money on their own, practice all of these things, and begin to, express themselves in this area. And one of the things that is amazing is that as children practice, as they learn, as they do all of these things, they will make their own mistakes. You know, you need to allow them to make their own mistakes. You can't avoid that. You know, some children, you see that all they want to do is to save and never spend. Some children, you see that all they want to do is to give and never spend. But you help them to create all of this balance, you know, by allowing them to practice. And the more they do this, the better they become at these things. And, you know, the way to create the balance is to teach them budgeting. You know, so if a child understands that I get an allowance of 1,000 naira every week or every month, depends on what you want to do, then you help the child to, you know, to create the balance between saving, giving, spending. And, you know, as the child practices, the child understands, is able to delay gratification, knows that, you know, there's value, there's time value of money, there are different things, you know, the child will learn in the process of doing this. And I will end with this, that what you now need to do is to help your child to keep the conversation going. After you've taught the basics, after you start early, you are leading by example, you've taught them budgeting, you've taught saving, giving, spending, and all of that. And you are allowing them on a daily basis, you know, to practice and learn and relearn, unlearn, relearn, and on and on. What you need to then do is to keep the conversation going. You can keep the conversation going in many ways. You know, sit together to draw up your spending list, things you need to buy. You can, as they grow older, you can sit together to budget. You can, you know, sit with them to budget. You can play money games together. You can use teachable moments, which are everyday occurrences, to teach them. You know, things happen or there's an headline in the news, you just don't allow it to pass. You use it to teach another money lesson, another lesson that will help them as they continue to grow. You know, these 6 things that I've mentioned, as simple and as basic as they are things that will help you to raise financially smart children. And just for reiterating, especially because I don't have any slides, I'll say, just repeat the points again, and then you can take any questions if there are any. Start early, lead by example, teach budgeting with an allowance, teach saving, giving, spending wisely, and also allow them to practice, allow them to make their own mistakes, and keep the conversation going using everyday occurrences. Thank you for your time. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Donchubola. Thank you very, very much. Moving on quickly, because like I said, we are way behind
Okay, I wasn't going
now.
through
So the next. Sorry?
Yes, okay. Sorry, I wasn't going through the chat. I saw someone said, if I don't mind to
Oh yeah, I
summarize.
sent you directly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see it earlier. Okay.
Okay, yeah. No, that's completely fine. Okay, so I'd like to introduce, thank you so much for that. That was quite insightful. I'd like to introduce the next speaker now. Okay, so the next speaker is, okay, no, the next moderator is Shogo Owolabi. Let me just do a quick intro. Shogo Owolabi is an avid reader, father of one lovely boy, and husband of one wife. Interesting. He's passionate about raising children with moral and social relevance. Please welcome Shogo Owolabi. Use your favorite emoji to welcome him, please.
All right, thank you, Ayotola. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's good to have you all. Special thanks to Leke. I think I must say a huge thank you to you for writing this book. I know it's one thing to know so much and have a lot of things to offer. It's another thing to have the the expertise and discipline to articulate it so clearly. It's a good one. We thank you for being a gift to our generation. So I'll be asking you a few questions from my interactions with your book, and also general questions that are not particularly specific to the book, but are important to parenting as well. So my first question, somewhere in the book, you wrote about the dangers of overpraising a child and how sometimes it might not be the best thing for them. You also talked about the importance of acknowledging their victories, and praising them. And so as a parent, I'm here and I'm torn between, okay, I have to do just enough and I shouldn't do too much. So how do we find a balance? How do we as parents not get overwhelmed with the demand to get it right,
Okay, well done. Thank you very much, Shogo. It's nice to see you. How was your exam today, though? I hope it was great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Smart parents now, before Uncle. All right. So yeah, very, very important question. The issue of balance. Balance is something that we will forever debate in life, but I have come up with a simple theory for balance. Balance is not the same thing as equilibrium. Whenever we picture balance, we think of an equilibrium system. It's honestly not possible, especially for a person who has learned to praise your child or has learned to get your child to do something as a result of praises or using praises to get your child to do something. You will find yourself slipping into the old way of doing things once in a while. And it is fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's fine that at some times you may slip, but it's more important to be more intentional about it. So I recommended in the book that there are other alternatives to using praises, because yes, when we do praise our children, it is good to give children feedback or to compliment them for something that they do. But sometimes when we actually overdo it, they therefore become dependent. They become very dependent on our praises, and that's the only motivation behind any action to be done. But we need to raise children who are intrinsically motivated. It's important for them to be intrinsically motivated, and that therefore will help them to go further in life, rather than them waiting for some form of praises or feedback before they do something right, or for them to be relying on other people's praises as an assurance that what they have done is good or is right. So I recommend at least 4 different things. One of such is, saying nothing rather than having to praise your child at all times. There are times that you should actually not even say anything, whatsoever. Other than well done or something, just something simple, something straightforward, so that the child does not, raising your child saying, oh, well done, fantastic, you're such a smart boy, you're an excellent maybe artist or something like that. Rather, draw the child's attention to the effect created by what he or she has done. So for instance, sometimes my daughter, intention on her own, cleans up a table after herself. So rather than me going like, oh, such a thoughtful girl, you have done a great thing or something, which of course will be lovely for the child, it's motivating, it makes the child very happy. However, what happens the day that I'm not there, the child does not feel motivated to clean the table after herself. Rather, I should say something like, I am happy that the table is clean, that you see what you have done. You've created an effect on the table. The table is neater because of what you have done. Well done. I mean, that way I am drawing the child's attention to what he or she has done. That is still a form of praise, but that praise draws attention to the effect rather than the person. Okay, the third one is complimenting their effort. So sometimes they put a lot of work into getting things done. Compliment the child's effort to say, awesome, this is good. You put in a lot of hard work into doing that. Well done, bravo. That's I mean, you compliment the child's effort. That must have cost you a lot of effort or a lot of time. I am proud that you have done so much of putting so much effort into what you have done. Well done. So that with the child therefore is intrinsically motivated to say I don't have to wait for somebody to compliment me. I just have to compliment myself to say, you know what, I have put in a lot of hard work into this thing, and therefore it deserves some form of personal praise as well. That also, you can switch that to your praise. I'm not saying don't pass a feedback or don't pass a comment. However, be intentional about the comment that you're generating. Ensure that it is not something that is external, something that is dependent on your presence. Rather, let it be something that even in your absence, the child can therefore say, even if my mom or my dad is not here, I know that I've put in a lot of hard work into this thing, so it is good enough. Or even if my parents are not here, I know that the effect I'm generating as a result of what I'm doing is good. A very simple example I gave in the book is to say something like, your child has cleaned a dog's kennel, for instance. So the dog is wagging his tail, the dog is happy. So you can say, see what you've done. Poppy is happy that you've cleaned his kennel. And so the next time she's probably doing it to ensure, to see that the motivation is that kennel is clean enough for the dog. And also, it's also important to be specific. Sometimes just say, bravo, kudos, well done. Even as a teacher, I have stopped using such a comment many years ago to say, excellent, good job. They are not specific. They do not develop anything in such a child. It is more important rather that we specify what exactly was good enough. The exact thing that we're complimenting is important so that the child knows that that is exactly what I am supposed to create another time. And then also, it's also good sometimes to even twist your praise into a question. So for instance, your child has created a new game, has created something on Scratch, and then has given some characters a particular name. You can go, oh, interesting. So Sub-Zero, what is Sub-Zero? What is the idea behind Sub-Zero? What inspired it? That honestly sometimes is more than enough compliment for a child. The child just sees that you pay attention to the details of his or her work, and is therefore willing to give more details to you since you seem interested. And then another day, at a very random time, you can therefore use that particular name as a joke in the house or something like that to help the child know that you didn't just say it for the sake of passing a compliment, but you were really interested in that particular activity. Now, these are, I felt the need to give this background. So these are the recommendations from the book for praising or better ways to praise our children. However, if you ask for the issue of balance, or for the issue of balance, there may be times, especially when starting out and developing this new habit, that you will sleep. And that is why I have created a habit tracker, a praise habit tracker, which I've also put up on the blog. It's free to download. Just go on thankspeakers.com, go to the shop section, and then you will see that there's a document you can download, which will help you know the times that you've done well, the times you've not done well, until eventually you have a lot of tips that'll let you know how very well you have done. If you visit the document, you'll have better details. So it will help you. That will probably help you to work towards growing or towards having a better way of complimenting your child. Yet, there will be times of sleep. And honestly, if you master this system very well, you may not even bother about whether or not you're doing it right. Even I, as the author of the book, I sleep sometimes. So even my own tracker has a few X's somewhere. And there are times that I have lots of ticks, but it's important for us to be intentional.
Well, thank you for that response. Okay, so my key takeaway from that response is for us to be deliberate and actually patient, and not just be quick to say something or respond or compliment. So thank you for that. My next question, so there is an age-long debate on nurture and nature, and so I read about two brothers who, one was a drunk and the other one a responsible gentleman. And when each of them was asked why they turned out the way they were, they both answered that it was because they had a drunk father.
They had what?
So they had a drunk,
Okay.
a father who was a drunk. And so they observed the same things, and then eventually they both actually turned out differently from the same experiences. And so which do you think is more important, and how do we draw values from the environment as well as the nature of our children?
So just a quick paraphrase of the question. I'm slightly distracted. Which is more important, having what, the environment versus nurture? Is that what you're saying?
So nurture is the environment, right?
Yes.
Nature is who they are intrinsically. Yes. So which is more important in the upbringing of a child? And then I use that story as a premise.
Okay, so what we have a control over really is nurture rather, not nature. So what we should focus more on is the nurture aspect. Trust me, I am talented, I'm multi-talented. I think I was born that way. Yet I still feel that to a large extent, the things that I grew up around determined my interests as well. And it's very possible that I will find myself in a different environment now and therefore pick on some new interest. I'm still evolving. My pastor, for instance, told me that he's interested. He told me a few years ago that he's interested in medicine. He wants to go study medicine. I'm like, seriously, sir, you're already 40. He says, I'm not 50 yet. Maybe when I become 50, I can start focusing. But now I can do all sorts. I'm like, that's awesome. So that challenges me to say, you know what, I'm still young. I still have a lot. And therefore, if I find myself in an environment where something else is the interest in that area, it's likely that I'll pick an interest in that thing and I will find myself growing in that particular thing. So nurture is important. We need to be intentional about the environment. And that's actually the crux of the book, of the Smart Book for Smart Parents, because nurture will affect nature. So your child might be interested in music, for instance, but if there's nothing in the house that is inspiring music, and there is no environment whatsoever that is inspiring music in your child's gift in music will die. So it's important for parents to pick their radar and begin to pick what are the various things that children are interested in as early as possible, and then begin to create an environment around the house to help nurture that. Many times it also can be that the children pick something inherently from the parents' gift or abilities. For instance, my wife used to do lots of YouTube videos, and so was surprised one day that my daughter, honestly, I have no idea how she got to do this, but she just picked up something, made it a microphone, and then she said something like, "Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel." We were both shocked and surprised, like, I don't get. And that's because that is my wife's starting line in her videos. She says, welcome to my channel. Now, if we continue that, if we do that on a daily basis, or I mean, it's once a week, if we do that weekly, it is very likely that she will grow up to desire to become a vlogger or vblogger or something like that, because that's what she meets in the environment. In the same vein, which is quite similar to the Hungarian people that I referenced in the book, they created an environment of pests around the house and helped to determine the pathway that the children will take. And that's what we have a control over. Honestly, yes, nature will inform us, but we have to use nature to nurture the children. So that's really, and trust me, nature will affect nature no matter what it is. So nurture is what we should pay more attention to.
All right, thank you very much, Leke. I think I've spent my 10 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Very short. I have a lot more questions, but I think we'll end here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sugar.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess it's my turn, right? I'm to invite the next speaker. Okay, so the third speaker today is my brother. Calling my brother self feels like, oh boy, you don't get respect to. But he is indeed my brother. He's somebody who has made himself a brother. He's a pastor, and he's a key influencer. He's an influence to many young people all around the world. At the moment, he's not in the country because he's going to make money somewhere in the US. But I appreciate his presence here. He's in a different time zone entirely, but still chose to be here today. He's passionate about men. I remember that I put up a post about 4 years ago on Facebook about my passion for boys. Like, I don't understand what's going on with boys. And the motivation behind that was really the issue of classroom. In a classroom, I realized that girls seem to be doing a lot better than the boys, and the boys seem to be slacking. So which is another thing that I featured in the book. He inspired that chapter in the book. He bossed me immediately after that post and he said, you know what, we need to do something together about boys, because that's honestly a key area for him as well. And so one of the things I decided to do was to write about boys. And I put that in a chapter in the book. So once you grab the book, you're ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me, Pastor Noel Abdullahi.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Leke, for this opportunity again to be able to talk about boys. And I'm really delighted to be part of this book launch. I've flipped through the book all through my flight. I went through each of those pages and they were quite inspiring. I consider the book, it has made life so easy for me, who has been a youth pastor for over 20 years, because the book covers, it has so much weight. And it has enough depth to inspire you to dig more. And I think that's what makes this book unique and classic, so that everything is covered. That's why I say it has a lot of width. And then it gives you enough depth to, like a springboard for you to go to dig deeper. And so it's the kind of book that you read that will make you want to do a research. So I'd flip through all the different pages. There's a lot of green flags. And I think one of my fathers told me that parenting is something of a lifetime. You do not graduate from parenting. And over the years, I think what he says is making sense, because I have raised people now who are married, and I still discover that from time to time, I'm still being called upon. So thank you, Leke, for taking a stab at this very, very great subject. And particularly, like Leke mentioned, the issue about boys has been a flag, and the experience he gave is something that has been consistent across a lot of people that are dealing with young people. I have a friend who is also a vice principal, and he's observing the same trend, and I think it's a dangerous trend. And over a few days ago, I read an article, and the title of that article was The African Male Child, an Endangered Species. And this was based on a research that was done somewhere in Kenya. And they observed that they had more boys, being able to pull through from primary school to secondary school. It was a research, so they were tracked. And they had a number of boys, they had a number of girls, and they discovered that the number of girls that were able to pull through from primary to secondary school was much less than the girls. And I think it's something of concern to us at this point in time. And when you go back in time, you will discover that there were a lot of structures that were naturally in place to ensure that the boy child is responsible. But in the process of time, some of those structures have disappeared, because take, for instance, before the industrial age, the young man follows his father to farm. The young woman stays at home and learns from the mother. And even from that young age, she starts helping the mother to take care of the younger ones. That sense of responsibility just flows naturally. And as the young man goes to farm with the father and farms, and he plants a seed, he knows that there's a time to water the seed. There's a season for the crop. He has to wait for the crop to mature. All those things begin to develop critical aspects of him that actually makes him a man. And it was you just naturally just grow into becoming a man. So as a man, you have to provide, and as a man, you have to protect. And if you recall in history, the way they lived, it's survival of the fittest. So every man was a soldier. And as a soldier, you are already trained to be able to lay your life down so that others can live. And I think those are some of the things that is missing right now because of the way the modern culture has evolved. And it therefore means that the traditional approach whereby we raise boys and say, oh, okay, boys are to play football, girls are to play 10-10, those things will not work now. I recall particularly in one of the chapters, Leke mentioned, the fact that we say, oh, girls are in the kitchen, then the boys, they are not supposed to be in the kitchen. They're not supposed to be in the kitchen chairs. They're just supposed to be chillaxing and enjoying themselves and all that. And he was actually advocating that both whatever it is the girls can do, the boys should be able to do it. And whatever it is the girls can do, the boys should be able to do it. And I think considering the times we live in, these are things that we really, really need to consider. So that's where we are coming from, and that is where we are today. And we must all be ready to make that adjustment. How can we help the boy child? There was a few months ago, I asked one of the boys who works with me, please let me know once my time is up so that I wrap up. There was a young man who was working with me, and I wanted us to go to the streets and get the boys, and reach out to the boys, and he came and gave me a report. He said, there are no boys on the streets. I said, what do you mean there are no boys on the streets? He said, all the boys are busy in their houses playing video games, and the ones who are not playing video games, they are busy doing Yahoo. And so we don't have boys in the streets anymore. And if you recall, one of the chapters, Leke talked about how some of us grew. We grew in the streets, and growing up in the streets made us to be street smart. And these are the real things that the young man needs to be able to survive in the jungle of life. You learned how to be able to fail and get up again and try again. You learned how to overcome being bullied. You have to devise means for survival when people are trying to beat you. You have to navigate. Maybe on your way back home, you had offended somebody in the school. Those were things that made us to become men. And now, when we have a generation where the young boys who are the men of tomorrow are no longer in the streets to be street smart, then I'm really, really bothered. And so what we have currently is we have a lot of young men growing up thinking that life is a video game. Life is not a video game. And those who are not playing video games just think that by defrauding people and making money and spending it as you like is what life is. No, these are things that must be changed and things that must be addressed. There's one of the boys now who has been caught by the FBI and has been, saying a lot. But these are very dangerous trends which must, be checked. And one of the things I am really proposing is because when you talk of manhood is more of a personal effort. It's not so much of something that can be put in you. You have to make the effort, and I'm strongly recommending like the kind of things that Leke is doing. We need to create platforms where we can groom men. On the final note, my pastor said something. He said, you have the bridegroom and the groom. He said it is the groom that actually grooms the bride. So imagine when the groom himself has not been groomed. So we need to groom our young men through personal development platforms and other things that can help them develop that sense of responsibility. Because I think that's one of the things that is lacking. A lot of them are taking a holiday of life, and they are just waiting for things to happen. What makes you a man is the ability to carry responsibility. These are the kind of values we need to pass across to the next generation, so that what is happening in the West will not happen here, where you have a lot of people, a lot of the men going to prison, and you just have single mothers raising children. And the results are not very good. The results are not very good. So please, attention should actually be given to the man child. And this is one of the cries that Leke is saying in this book. And as many people who want to join us in this, I think it's important you buy the book. And Leke, I think we need to get to work on this immediately. So thank you all for having me. And I wish everyone a happy weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Noel. Thank you so much. We're grateful, and thank you for these very quick tips. Well, definitely, we will begin to work on it. This is the beginning of the work. We'll definitely begin to work on it. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and please, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please do post on the chat box. If you have any questions for any of the facilitators, please do post quickly on the chat box. We'll take them. And please note that I'm also a facilitator. So if you have any question for me,
okay. If one of the things I think that we also need to really attend is the emotional development of these boys. I think it's more critical than anything. A lot of people have been concentrating on just developing their IQ, which is the intelligence. But what makes a man? We're all looking for gentleman. What makes a gentleman? Ask yourself, what makes a gentleman? What makes a gentleman is ability of self-control first, delayed gratification. And all these things are things that happen at the emotional realm. That is where a man matures. Maturity is your emotion. So we have a lot of people who have grown up to be men, but they're emotional babies. There is no way they can deliver on what manhood demands. So that's just a tip I think that is worth contributing.
Yes, thank you. And I particularly, I'm going to tweet that statement. We need to groom the groom. We need to groom the bridegroom. And part of that's which is one of the things I raised in the book. You know how the girls are doing very well. The girls are excelling, and so they will find themselves in places where if nature doesn't cheat on them, if the patriarchal system that sort of rules the world today does not twist their strength into a weakness, they will excel. They begin to rise. However, they may realize that they don't really need the men folks. I mean, because the men folks don't seem to be as ambitious or pushy, or as they are not investing as much in themselves. Or they may find themselves in a situation where they simply just marry their classmates or somebody that they know because they have a desire to marry. And if that person is not emotionally intelligent, which is one of the key chapters in the book, How to Raise a Child Who is Emotionally Intelligent and it can start from as early as age 2. If that child is not emotionally intelligent, therefore we'll find issues in our homes. And we don't want, it's not the job of any parent to hear that his or her child is going through a divorce or he has an unhappy home, for instance. So and there are many things we can begin to do. Sometimes, we have issues where boys don't want to cry. I am a man and I cry, and I don't make I am not ashamed of it. In fact, I was very extra comforted when I heard that my pastor cries. You see,
Yeah.
And it's not a thing of weakness to indicate that there's a particular name given to a feeling of anxiety, for instance. And it's important to admit where we are not admitting feeling, or especially in our culture, when we begin to label certain emotions as being negative or as being weak, it therefore begins to raise a different opinion in the mind of a boy that you are being sissy or you are being a girl. It's wrong to have such names to such feelings. It is human, rather. And so we begin to create, if we continue in that light, we'll therefore begin to create boys that are no longer human, or that are not humane, or they shut themselves out to. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, and another thing, for the man or the boy child, I like to call it man child, because that's how the Bible calls it, man child. When for the man child particularly, role modeling is very key to their development. Every boy is looking for a man to model after. I don't know, that's how we are wired. We're looking for a man to model after. And when they're beginning to see people who are irresponsible, living the life, then they now start having wrong role models, and that actually becomes a big problem in the society. They start telling you academics is not that important anymore. That's why we are seeing these boys not paying attention. They will tell you, this person, did he go to school? That person, did he go to school? But he's made it. And what's the sense of made it? Get money, spend it, go to Instagram, Facebook, and show yourself. So a lot of those values need to be inculcated in them by us having real role models, positive role models that these boys can look up to. A boy is always looking for his father, no matter how irresponsible the father is. And if there is no biological father, some of us should be able to stand in as fathers for them. If you watch the film called Courageous, it was just a black policeman that stood as a father figure for a boy who was about to destroy his life in crime. We need more of those kind of men in the police force. We need, father figures. We need the spirit of fatherhood. Men, let we who are the older men be able to look for boys and provide guidance and mentorship to them. And I think that will also inspire them to, be what they ought to be.
Thank you so much, Pastor Noel. That's great, and that's awesome. Okay, before Ayotola introduces the next moderator, I'll just read through some very engaging things on the chat box. Mrs. Joshua says, well said about the boy child. My concern about being streetwise today is that our streets are not safe these days. So parents rather have their children staying safe indoors. This is a factor we should look into. Definitely, you're right about that. And earlier in this meeting, I actually did mention some things in relation to safety, especially in playing outdoors and all. So yes, you have a very strong point about that. Yes, we don't want to keep them entirely out of the streets. I think what we can do is have a bit of a guidance in relation to that as well. But that's as far as outdoors. But being street smart is not just about relating with people on the streets. It's also about certain skills, which honestly is covered in the book. Mrs. Bashar says her honest opinion is about if 7 + 3 is equal to 10, just as much as 8 + 2. There's no one size fits all. Yes, you are very correct. Which honestly, in my own opinion, is the place where I believe that there's a need for us to understand our temperaments and our emotions. I read a book growing up, Spirit Control Temperaments, which actually helps us to understand the place of the Holy Spirit in balancing ourselves. What I learned, and I attended a personality training in the month of May that indicated that we all have a bit of all these various personalities or these various temperaments, and there are certain events, certain occasions where we need to apply them. So I, for instance, can be very calm and gentle, but you don't want to see me sometimes when in the place of work, I can be very choleric and dogged. So it's not my natural trait. It's not what I'll probably display at home, but in certain environments, I need to implement it. So yes, there are times that our boys may not be emotional. There are times where they may need to be somewhat insensitive, but pretty much it's all part of control. It's part of emotional intelligence, knowing what certain characteristic to display at certain events. However, in the home, it is also important for them to know that this is a place for them to feel free to be themselves. And if they are not being themselves at home in our own training, therefore they will not be themselves when they become fathers or become husbands in the future. So let's create an environment that allows them to be themselves. Okay, so somebody else says, I work from home, and the best way to keep my toddlers calm is allowing them to watch cartoons. How can I limit screen time, and what ways can I engage them apart from cartoon? Okay, all right. My wife says she wants to answer a question. I don't know which exact question you want to answer, but you can see it's in chat box. When I get there, alert me. Okay, so there in the book, I actually recommended a few things you can do apart from screen time. So I think that's in chapter 3. Please do read the book. Let me not give you spoilers, but just one thing I'll tell you. If you don't have any alternative whatsoever to TV, if there's no alternative, I don't know how old your children are. Yeah, they are toddlers. In my house, we have TV, but trust me that this TV hasn't been on this month. It hasn't been on. I don't mean it hasn't been on. And it's not a conscious thing, it has become a habit. Okay, so if there's no alternative whatsoever to television, no alternative. If you cut the cable, if you take the TV out, trust me, you may find all the alternatives to keeping your children calm so that you can concentrate on work. But yes, there'll be times that they will not, especially in the struggle. You'll probably be the next television for them, but you will eventually find ways. So, but trust me, read the book, you'll find several other materials there. Okay. Yes, I have a toddler who is very well reserved, takes a lot to get him to express himself, yet he can be very strong-willed. How do I handle being pretty firm with him to get him to do what I want to get him, to get him to do what I want, yet get him not to run into his shell again? Okay, I'm trying to understand his shell though. You say expresses himself, yet he can be very strong-willed. Oh, the very strong-willed children, especially when they throw tantrums and things like that. Trust me, what I'll tell you, Busai, is don't back down. Trust me, if you lose this battle now, you will never win it again. Don't back down. And you might find yourself tempted to raise your voice, especially to assert yourself or to threaten your child to take you seriously. I think you shouldn't do that. It's still a learning curve for me and my wife. I tend to do that better than my wife at the moment, but yes, she's developing. We don't raise our voice. I just say exactly what it is I want to tell the child to do in a very calm way and with a very strong tone. She's a toddler, she's 2+, and we still insist on it. Over time, she's learned to take us seriously. We don't even threaten anymore. We don't say, I'll beat you. We don't say, we have this particular place where we call the think corner, which we will tell her to go to. We don't call it naughty corner, it's just a think corner. Go there and think about what you've done. And when you've calmed, we will allow you to come out and then we'll have a conversation about it. And when the child has come out of that think corner, we then have a conversation. We don't just, express our emotions, our anger and let it go. We let her know what you have done is wrong. And then at another time, which is also important, it's important to have a sort of sharing time, a devotional, if that's what you want to call it, at the end of each day. At another time, at the end of each day, we review the day and then we tell her, okay, we don't say what she did wrong. We just say what she's supposed to do at certain instances at different times. So that might be something to help you with, because referring to the exact kind of behavior you expect in your child, event that does not relate to that, puts the child in a place where he's not being defensive, not put a shield before your instruction. Important to constantly remind our children of what they expect, the expected behavior outside the moment of misbehavior. So that helps. And of course, sometimes when your child caves in or moves into a shell, some children can be expressive, outward bursts. Some other children, they just introspect and they clam up and things like that. None is very good. The second one might be calmer, you are relaxed, but none is very good. It's important to let your child know that even if he or she is not happy, she should speak, express her emotions at certain times and things like that. So honestly, there's no one size fits all. I think I'll just probably take one more question and then we'll come back to the set of questions so that I don't have the next moderator waiting too long. Okay, so I see here Mrs. Bashar again. Some won't, for instance, allow their children watch television in the mornings. I have twin boys. So when I get to school, right, when one is getting ready for school in the morning, I allow the other watch television. It gives me peace and Okay, I guess Mr. Bashar, the answer to the first question already gives you a bit of an idea. I know your boys are, they are strong. That they are very big boys by now. They are moving to the almost the final class of primary school. So what you have done for them, yes, if you begin to implement something new this time, it might be hard for you to crack that nut. It is crackable. Just never. Finally, let me just take just one question. I have a 3-year-old daughter who is so emotional. She gets jealous of her big sister, and any slightest opportunity, I try to explain to her sometimes that she's now a big sister and she would be more accommodating. She's not working. SOS, please. Okay. Trust me, there's no answer I can give you right now that will answer your question fully. What I'll ask you to do, feel free to this, but for the sake of others who might have a similar issue, Musayo had asked me a similar question I think it was last year, about sharing in the house. Okay, yes, there are some things you can do, some simple tips. It's a journey. It's not something that you can achieve immediately. But yes, because she's 3 years old, she doesn't yet understand what she's required to do to take care of a younger child. She still feels that she's the baby of the house, and so this person that has come to encroach into her privacy. So you have to also, it involves you as well. So sometimes it doesn't, maybe for the sake of peace, you probably want to get two things, but it doesn't always help. Sometimes you want your child to share. What I would recommend for you is you probably want to give some very reasonable portion so that your child does not feel that he or she is losing so much when she's sharing a little bit. But that's still the beginning. That's not the full picture. Your child needs to learn sacrifice, but a 3-year-old does not understand sacrifice. The only sacrifice she understands is the one you make for her and not the one she makes for somebody else. So you need to be willing to take your child through the process of sharing, and not just with your baby sister, but even with other people, external people, especially people that she loves or cares for and she's happy about. And then also you want to reward that behavior. So when your child does share, do compliment your child by saying, see the effect that your sharing has done on your child. Your baby sister is happy, your baby sister is very good. Or sometimes you probably want to give a reward for that habit. That's upward conditioning. So if your child does share something, you want to give something else that the child probably prefers as reward. But these are just some things for a start. But trust me, a 3-year-old does not yet understand. Maybe from the age of 4, he or she knows what he or she is doing. And so, but it's just engage me. We'll talk further about it. So let me just put these at an end for now, so that Ayotola can introduce the next speaker. Thank you, ladies. I need a cup of water, please.
Thank you so much. Parenting obviously is an endless discussion. Everyone has questions, and we are moving closer and closer to item 7. So if you're already tired, just relax. We are getting closer to the end of this. But before then, let me introduce the next moderator. Okay, so our next moderator is Adeye Oluwaseun Shobo. She's an avid reader, a passionate teacher, and a mother of 2 lovely girls. The subject of parenting is dear to her heart, and she has been part of several panel discussions on this theme. She's joining us live from the US. Thank you so much, Adeye Oluwaseun Shobo. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Ayatollah. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure. Yeah, excuse me. And congratulations once again, Leke. It's beautiful to see years of planting germinate and bear fruit. And I pray that wherever this book goes, it will definitely have the impact that you wish and pray for it to have, and that generations yet unborn will be better for it. So I read the book, and my review was very long because there was so much to actually, hi Gail, there was so much to actually glean from it. As Ayatollah said, I'm a mom of 2 girls. My daughters will be 6 and 2 later on in the 6 and 3, pardon me, later on in the year. And parenting, the topic of parenting is very dear to me. So I just have a couple of questions. I have 5, but I'll probably take 2 or 3 because of the time that Leke and I are just going to talk about very quickly and very briefly. I'll premise my first question with a personal experience. When I had my first daughter, my parents were late by the time, and somehow my mother-in-law thought my sister was going to come. My mother-in-law thought my sister was going to come. My sister thought my mother-in-law was going to be around the day I was leaving the hospital. So schedules were mixed up, and at the end of the day, it was just myself and my husband that left the hospital that day. Suffice it to say that started like 3 months of intense fear when it came to parenting. I would think there was nothing that didn't go through my mind. Why did you bring this child into this fallen world? You've given your life to Christ already. Now you've brought somebody else that you're going to have to guide in the way. And at the end of the day, you're not assured of their salvation. So I guess my first question to you, Leke, is how do you intentionally ensure that you do not parent from a position of fear? Because it's very easy to do. So how, as parents, can we mitigate against this? Do you have any practical strategies, or just tell us from your experience, how can we?
Strategies. Okay, well, maybe because I'm a strategic person, I have played the role of strategy for God knows how long, and well, I'll be moving into a full strategic role in September. So yes, I do have some things that will mitigate, but they don't assure of 100% success against fear. Because trust me, even as an adult, even as a father of a 2-year-old who will soon be 3, like your own daughter will be by December, I still do bear some fears. And so I also imagine when we give birth to my own daughter, so let me share my own personal experience as well. When we give birth to my daughter, she was born 2 months early. 2 months, men forget. 6 early. So and so she was in the hospital for several days. For more than 20 days, she was in the NICU. And so when talks from my mother-in-law and family members and some other people came up, like, let the girl come home, let her come home. I was like, no, let us stay in the hospital. I'm not yet ready to be responsible for her. Do I know what it is I'm doing? Do I even know what I think? The nurses probably know better than all of that. Eventually, we decided that she should come home and faced the work of parenting fully. Yes, I had my fears, but I knew for certain that I had prepared too long for this phase of my life to make it flop. And I have an assurance in God that I will succeed as a parent. And that, of course, there is a support system, which is what being in Nigeria provides you, unlike a few of my friends who are abroad, that can also make it work. So how would you ensure not to work from the place of fear? Prepare ahead. I don't prepare for the next phase of my life when it's a week away. It's several weeks away, which is why a person like Ayotola Olariwaju is very lucky to be here. Before becoming a mother, it's important to learn what you need to learn about, about the process, about the future ahead, and which is also why this book is important. The Smart Book, The Smart Parents. So before your child is born, and honestly, this book covers the whole breadth from birth to teenage, to when your child is old enough to leave your house. And so there are several things, several tips for everybody who's had a child, or who's having a child, or who's having a child. So prepare ahead. That's one. Secondly, it's also important to realize that you should have a network, a support system. However, you also need to have an opinion of your own, because especially in Nigeria, everybody has ideas of how you should do your work better as a parent. And so you don't want to take everybody's idea, because in this journey, we have had our doubts too about some decisions we took regarding our daughter's growth and our daughter's development. For instance, we're homeschooling. It was not a decision that everybody supported or still supports, but we don't know whether we'll regret it later in the future. We pray not to, but we're certain and we're sure, based on certain facts that we have read and based on the goal or the picture, the vision that we had even before she was born, and I believe it was inspired by God, that it is the right decision, it's the wise decision. So it's it's therefore important that you have your decisions firmly made while you are taking in support from others. Yet there are several other contributions that we have gained from other people that have informed the decisions we have taken about her development, and it has been useful. So I would say definitely that you need a support system, and yet you need to have a firm opinion. So when some suggestions come, my own philosophy, I don't prevent anybody from suggesting. Feel free to talk, but the decision is eventually made on me. You won't come to my house and make the decision on my daughter in my presence. Thank you. I appreciate what you're saying. Very strong points. I'll probably even add a few things to what you're saying. While I share my opinion, if I see that you disagree, then honestly, the conversation is ended there. I'll just end it with thank you very much. But I know that the decision is still left to me. So yes, that is important. And then also, you also need to have some markers for successes. So when you are recording little bits of progress and you see that this thing is happening on your child's life, that therefore gives you some confidence for the decisions you are taking, to let you know that, okay, these are pointers to successes. I don't necessarily have to work in the place of fear anymore. I can see that some of the things, so for instance, with homeschooling my daughter, for instance, we've taken her out of the homeschool environment to interact with other children who attend regular schools. And from her interaction with these children, we see that she's doing very well, sometimes even doing better than children who are attending regular schools, sometimes at par. And then we've also seen areas that she's not done well in, and then we begin to ask ourselves, how can we do better? For instance, social interaction, we see that is one of the weaknesses for her, and we ask ourselves, how can we do better? So these pointers are helping us to make better decisions. So you need to have markers for successes and even markers for failures, so that you know exactly where to improve on. So these are the few tips. If you ask me to go on strategy, it will just come in and flow. Let me just stop there for now.
Thank you, Leke. So just to recap, I think the first thing you said was to prepare, and that can never be overemphasized, because that's where you get the information to even develop the markers that you concluded your response with. There's something else you mentioned that is very key, and I was still talking about it with a couple of people 2 days ago, is community. I think that as in having a group of people that do the journey of parenting with you, because I find that many of us prepare for so many other things, many of us join groups for so many other things, but when it comes to parenting, somehow, I don't know why we think we can, or we choose very often to go the distance alone. And maybe it's because, and this is a good segue into my next question, maybe it's because many of us, we hold up our children's behavior, good or bad, as a report card for our own parenting.
Parenting performance success as parents.
So this is like I said, this is a good segue into the next question. Now, should I measure as a parent, should I measure my success by the quality of the relationship I have with my child? By how effectively I can control my child, or how effectively my child behaves properly, or by how I reflect the heart of the Father in my daily life? It could be all, it could be none, it could be, that's all right, 1 or 2. Okay, so how do we, because I think this is something that many of us, the word is not struggle. And this is something that many of us do consciously or subconsciously. And it may be right, I may be wrong, but let's just hear what you think.
So yes, success for parenting, trust me, can be a lifelong grading system. Trust me. So I am a parent now, and I know that my parents and my wife's parents have not stopped parenting us. And sometimes the decisions we take, they internalize it as though it's a result of either their failure as a parent or their successes as a parent. And so you hear things like "Shebi Moshe Toini." In Yoruba language, that's Yoruba. That means, is that how I raised you? Or why have you taken this decision? And you go, Popsy, Momsy, relax. I'm a man now. I think I have advanced. Granted, you succeeded, you did very well, but there's a place where your work stops and mine starts. And also, your Yoruba proverb says that when a child is raised, a child knows how to raise himself. After raising a child, when you give birth to a child, the child becomes born again. Let me use that again. So I think for me, honestly, the hallmark of success as a parent is raising a child who can actually take a decision by himself and own that decision, which for me is the crux of the Smart Book for Smart Parents. I put it there in the introductory chapter that the purpose, I see that the highest purpose or the utmost for parenting is raising a child who is independent and does not necessarily need to blame anybody. For a long time, I blamed some people, some of them included my parents, for for how some things turned out in my life. So for instance, the choice of what course to study, whether science, arts, or commercial. I had made a decision. I had chosen one particular one, but my parents felt I was smarter for that particular class, and they decided something else for me, and they insisted on it. If you wanted your school fees paid, you better take this. And so when I started failing later in the future, I blamed them for it. And trust me, if I was confident enough, I probably would have said it to their faces that you failed in this aspect. I wouldn't want my child to do that. So if for instance, we had a healthy parenting, or we had a healthy relationship, we had a rapport and all of that, in their eyes, they would say, oh, they are successful as a parent, but they may not know that I had internal struggles about my walk in life, my path in life, the things I wanted to do with my life. For a long time, I knew not what it was I wanted to do with my life, but I just knew I could do a lot of things very well. And I blamed my family for that because they influenced the decision that if I had actually went in the direction that I wanted to go, even if it failed, I would know it was my decision. So I think that having a healthy relationship with parents or with your child is good. It's great. It's one of the things we should work towards. But you may have that, but your child is still blaming you for something else, or your child is still feeling unfulfilled, or your child makes a decision later in the future and you're wondering where did this come from. And when you probe further, then you begin to open skeletons in the cupboard and you're like, oh my God. So what happened to the relationship? Granted, there was a relationship, it was great, it was awesome, it was fantastic, but there are still some other things in there that is not good. But if you have a child who's independent, and you see, the thing about independence is it may raise issues around relationships with your child, where you feel that my child no longer needs me. And so he's making decisions, he's taking some bold steps without even consulting me. And so I begin to feel that I'm no longer relevant in the child's life. I'm gradually fizzling out. However, we need to be convenient with that. That needs to happen. And it's also a test of how healthy the relationship has been. Because if even at this time, there are certain decisions I want to take that I will introduce my parents to and say, what's your opinion? And all that. Even though I still know I will take my decision later on, but because they have shown a bit of trust to me going on, especially in that aspect, I trust them not to influence or to take over the process. The reason your child would not even think to need you later in the future is if you have a tendency to usurp the whole thing or to smother. But if you do feel the need to allow the child to have a measure of trust, I trust you to be able to do this. Whatever decision that you take is great and fantastic. You have made some decision in the past, and this is the result it has yielded. Granted, if maybe this failed, and I came in at this particular time to support you, even when some of these things fail, you come in to support and all of that, then your child will feel the need to even raise, ask questions or seek your opinion and things like that. So relationship is good, but it's not the hallmark as far as I'm concerned of parenting. I think the hallmark of parenting is independence. And then yes, even if you say that, okay, is it about having a lovely relationship with our father, or as our father would lead yourself? Really, to what extent do you think that our father is raising us with smothering? And really, what has our father done? That's our father in heaven. What has he done to indicate that he wants us to come closer? It's because he gives us some form of autonomy. He gives us some form of independence. Say, go ahead and do this thing. Make your own choice. The Bible says, I have given you life and death, choose life. Granted, he's given us an option to choose, but then he gives us a clue to say, this is what I think is better for you to choose. So what happens at times that we choose death? He still presents the option of life to us to say, you know what, you can still find your path by choosing life and things like that. So I believe that this really is the hallmark.
Fantastic. Two things that your response brings to mind. One of the things that you talked about was raising children who know how to make a decision and own that decision, meaning having a huge sense of independence. And for the last couple of years, I've told every parent I've come across, and I've put a couple of posts on social media as well, that we need to raise children who consistently ask why and question you when you tell them to do things. It's not a sign of disrespect. It's a sign of the ability to think critically. Because the truth is, if every time your child you tell your child to do something and the child asks why, whether in class or at home, and you say, because I said so, or that's disrespectful. When your mom or dad tells you something to do, you just have to do it. And you realize that then your child, like you said, gets somewhere where you're not there and they need to make a decision. And they cannot think through the process simply because they've never been allowed to ask why. Do this, why should I do this? It's a learning curve for a lot of parents because we were not raised like that. Thankfully, to a large extent for me, my dad was very, to some people, he allowed a lot of things, but what he said to us was, he wanted kids that would always be able to come to him and say, Daddy, I don't like this, I don't like that. Can you please explain to me why we need to go this way? And it worked. He didn't do that all the time, but it worked. And so I agree with you that it's important to raise independent children who can make decisions and own it, simply because they've been taught to question the status quo. The world we live in today, there are so many voices that are going to be speaking to our children, so many things that do this is the way, we're in the era of my truth, my era of all sorts of things. And if your children cannot sit down and ask, why should I believe in that? Why should I take this decision? Then there's a problem. I'll take one last question and then we'll wrap it up. So do you think that some of us as parents project our childhood aspirations on our children?
Oh, yes, we do. Even I do. Trust me. Trust me. So, for instance, one of the things I had wished to do growing up was to wax an album, a music album. I had written a lot of songs. I still have those songs written, and I'm like, the world needs to hear the songs. I don't think it's too late. I'll still do that. But I see that my daughter is singing. I mean, she's singing, and sometimes she just sits and she's composing songs in her head. So
automatically, she's an artist.
It's good. Those songs, I have to dig them up.
You take their own name to fame.
As early as when she's old enough to grab a microphone, we'll go into the studio. But trust me, it's something I desire. I may not follow through with it. I definitely will do my own album before she does hers. But yes, it happens. And however, I think it's something we need to be very careful about before we push our children into something that they're not yet young enough to old enough to handle, and something we're not even ready to grasp. And sometimes we become so pushy about it, and so we push them into sports or certain activities in school that we wished we had time to do, or we wished that we had support to do, especially because we had some parents who were very, very protective. Like after school, you're supposed to carry a book. So why are you playing football and stuff like that? And so you'd find parents who see that their children are interested in a rolling piece of device called football. And so like, he must really be interested in football. And then they push the child into football. Just like it because everybody else around school likes it. So it's therefore important for us to ask our motivation. What exactly are the motivations? If they are selfish, then trust me, you will not be happy about it eventually. But if it's something that is indicating of that child, it's something that the child is giving you pointers to. Yeah. So even though, yes, I have a growing aspiration for my child to wax an album, if I see that interest in music is waning, but she's having more interest in something else, I will not force her to continue music. Therefore, find attention to. So we need to pass the barrier between things. I hope I wasn't breaking. Did you hear me throughout?
I lost a bit, but it was just a very short bit, but it was fine. I lost just a short bit. Yeah, but I think that's a fantastic answer. We need to find the balance, because the other extreme is because you don't want them to live your dreams through them. the child is clearly has an is indicative of success in a certain area, and then you're like, well, don't let me leave my childhood dreams to that child. So it's a balance between finding out what exactly is it that you want for this. I think we just all need to put our ears to the Father's heart. What do you want for this child? Because at the end of the day, I'm merely a guardian.
Surely, we're stewards.
A guardian.
We're
So
stewards.
I think I'll stop there.
God gave them to
I
us.
Really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you, Leke. Congratulations again. Before I go, if you haven't, if you've not paid or bought a book, please do. And this is not hype. I've known Leke since 2011.
2011,
yeah.
Exactly.
And we worked in the same organization for the last 10 years. I don't have many friends. I didn't have many friends within the organization. I had quite a number of people I worked with well, and he was probably my closest friend at that organization. So I can tell you for free that the content of the book is gold. So I'm sure the account details and the link are in the chat again. Please buy. If you've bought before, buy again. Contribute. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ade. Thank you so much for that great session. Well done. All right, so at this point, I will quickly just run through the next set of questions before my wife takes the donations. I have the questions open now. I've lost them. Okay, I think I stopped on just what is question. Excuse me. Okay, yes. So the next one. Okay, so I've taken just what is question. Busayo says he is very reserved. Okay, so that explains it. We'll talk some more, Busayo. Okay, Mrs. Olayinka, I believe, Adegunke Olayinka says, I am a mom of 3-year-old twin girls. They are very strong, will stubborn, they don't take instructions. Can I do, please? And then somebody says, and then she says, my husband believes in spanking and shouting at children to discipline them, but I have learned it's not best. Then last question, what ways is best to discipline toddlers? Okay, so let's start with the issue of having strong-willed children. Congratulations, I'm very happy that you have strong-willed children. These are the movers and shakers of the future. And so you want to ensure that you don't do what your husband is doing, spanking and shouting, because you will therefore kill the will in them, make it weak. They therefore become weak-willed and they no longer become go-getters and movers in the future. So yes, while they will run you wild, trust me, I have one in my house. They will run you up and down the wall. Know fully well that you are still the parent and you can be firm without losing your cool. That's actually what the book is about. It's 25 paradigm shifting advice from a teacher. That's from me as a teacher to parent on how to raise smart children without stress. So there are ways that you can actually insist on what you want. So imagine that I am a teacher and I have at least 13. There are times that I have as much as 20 strong-willed children in the class. So maybe that's why I made it 25 paradigm shifting advice, because usually in the classroom we have a maximum of 25 children. So I wrote one for each child. All right, so there are ways that you can actually be insistent. Useful and very impactful is The New Strong-Willed Child by James Dawson. James Dawson actually proposes that you should spank your children, maybe not spank as hard as beat and all that, but he says things like slight tips and all that, just a slow flick of the finger here and there. I have used it. Trust me, it's a very quick fix. It helps the child to be remorseful very instantly, but it has not really generated lasting change in my daughter. She still repeats the behavior. And in fact, she's become so confident enough to tell me, don't spank me or don't beat me. Or when she does something wrong, she quickly apologizes and she says, she's sorry, don't beat me, I'm sorry, don't beat me, don't beat me. And so what I have resolved to doing instead is, using the think corner more often. But if you overuse it, it definitely loses its value. So there are several advices, or some of which I've also proposed in the book, that you can use as well. If you run your home with a structure and you have some reward system made available for the child, and you and the child has loved this reward system in particular, and please, TV is not one of them, you will therefore be able to raise a child who is introspective. And that happens a lot when you actually have one-on-one conversations with your child. So say, for instance, maybe one of the things your 3-year-old twin girls do is they throw themselves on the floor and they are throwing a tantrum. Please allow them, let them exhaust the energy, let them roll on the floor. Don't even raise your voice, don't even beat them at that point, don't even shout, because your shouting is affecting you, and also, especially because you'll be shouting with anger, you are helping your child to learn how to react when he or she's having a tantrum. And therefore that child will also learn anger. So sometimes when we respond angrily, we are teaching our children to be angry. So maintain your cool. Your child is shouting, is throwing a tantrum and all of that. Be cool, be calm, be collected. Allow your child to throw the tantrum when the child has exhausted himself or herself. You don't raise the child, hug the child, press the child as closer to your chest, let the child know that you still approve of him or her. What he or she has done has not really affected you, and then you begin to talk as calmly as possible to your child, let him or her know what he or she has done is wrong. I certainly hope that you don't have a daughter who scatters everything in the house, throws, kicks things down and things like that. When that happens, definitely you need to punish that behavior to desist it from happening, or your child is angry and begins to bite himself or bite things like that. As calmly as possible, let your child know that when we're angry, we have other ways to express our emotion. Let the child know that it's fine to be angry. It's fine to be upset about some things. So one of the things we do is we tell our child, don't be angry, and no, let the child know that it's fine to be angry, it's fine to be upset, but there are other ways to take out your anger. Rather than biting at something, just take a deep breath, take a walk, cool, go and think somewhere, read a book, find other ways to express your anger rather than kicking things down, all of that. That's part of the things that I wrote in the book in the emotional intelligence chapter. Then please, I think I touched a bit about your husband spanking your child. I wish your husband was here. It will be easier for him to handle taking it directly from me than for you to go tell him. Trust me, I know what that is like. So maybe you probably want to maybe have a meeting, a touch point with me. My phone number has been posted there. That's where people share the proof of payment for the book. Just let him have a quick conversation with me, and we can have a conversation about other ways that your child and that your husband can actually discipline your twin girls. And trust me, man, you don't have it easy. Twins, wow, that's a lot. And if both of them are strong-willed, mama, you're doing a lot of work, bravo. So please compliment yourself, give yourself a pat on the back, you're doing a great job. Okay, so the best way to discipline your toddler is honestly to have talks, be honest, be vulnerable, let your child know, let these children know sometimes that they are actually not making you happy, that they are, driving you up a wall and all of that. And trust me, they can be very emotional, they can understand. Teach them also emotions, teach them feelings. I wish that you would also do some bits of homeschooling, because some of the homeschooling things my wife does with my daughter helps her to understand emotions and feelings sometimes. So if you probably expose them to various emotions, so when they see you express a particular emotion, or they give a face, when you give a face and they understand that face, then they understand the code on how to behave. Okay, let me not take too long on certain questions. All right, Demi Busari says think time. All right, I'm happy that you have a lot to think about here. Okay, all right, what else? You can also pray out loud. Okay, Lois says you can also pray out loud over the child where the tantrum is going on. Yes, that's something my wife does actually. She prays out loud, and she sometimes even prays in the spirit. And then she tells the child what the child is meant to do and things like that. And it takes my daughter by shock, like, wait, I don't get. So sometimes, even when she's throwing the tantrum, she raises her head and she joins her mom and says, Mommy, you're praying, and then she begins to say amen. It just changes the atmosphere and stuff like that. Okay, what else? Gives us there's attempt 7, great. What was the question you wanted to take then? Oh, I have, okay. Did I answer it well? Or do you want to add something? Okay, sorry, quickly, my wife wants to add something.
Okay, hi guys. It was a question on disciplining a toddler. I would say that keep repeating what the child should do. And yes, as much as you leave the child, you don't hold the child when the child is having a tantrum sometimes. I've also found that sometimes holding the child down and praying over the child helps. Because my husband said you leave the child, let them exhaust their energy. It's true, but the child can also injure themselves, right? In the process of trying to roll or hitting something, and then you now be dealing with something else at the end of the day. So
hold the child. The child will struggle. My daughter is energy. But sometimes I'll hold her down and I'll be praying. You're a patient child. You are peaceful. You listen. As in, I'll be saying it over and over until she calms down. When she calms down, I'll put her down and then say, that display, was it necessary? Couldn't you have communicated what you wanted better? And I keep telling her, communicate. Crying is not communication. So if you're crying, I can't hear you. You want something, tell me. If you don't know how to tell me, explain, show me something. But crying and throwing yourself on the floor, I'm sorry, my darling, you're not gonna get it.
So much, thank you so much. It's better that you heard from your horse's mouth. I couldn't really have said that. And I have learned also from her contribution there. Okay, Esther says, as a preschool teacher, how do one balance my pattern of teaching with the way my child is being taught in her own school? For example, how to write letter sounds, etc. Okay, well, first thing first, what was the motivation behind taking your child to that school? You probably want to review the school that your child is in, every other thing. So take, for instance, the writing pattern is something you don't support in the school. Then you need to create some time at home to teach your child. The problem though is if this child is a preschool child, so it's very likely that the pattern that the school is using is what he or she is already used to, and so it might be a bit of a conflict in the child's mind if you want to teach something else. Ask yourself really, what's the end goal? Why exactly do you need to change the? Okay, you say letter sounds. Okay, and if it's a way, there's a way that you can actually walk up to the school, the head of school, or maybe the head of nursery, for instance, to suggest what you believe or what you think is right. Really emphasis on the word suggest, then it's fine, especially if you believe that it's something that'll be useful, not just for your child, but for every other person. If you teach letter sounds, for instance, to a toddler and your toddler is saying it and the child gets to class and it's a different thing entirely that the child is saying, the child will be confused because the teacher will insist on what is being said in the classroom. So if you honestly want to save your child that stress, I guess you should begin to look for a school that might actually support your own opinion. Yet, if you believe that there are better ways, maybe during the long vacation, like this period, you can then begin to teach your child the new pattern, especially if your child is old enough to grasp the difference. Teach your child the new pattern, the letter sounds and things like that, because you have ample time. You have about 6 weeks or even up to 2 months to help your child to memorize or to master this new process before the child goes back to school and is being taught the new pattern. So this is my decision. It's actually a very dicey place to be because for a preschool child, the foundation is very important. For us, we don't have that problem because homeschooling is what we do, and so nobody conflicts my child's brain. So I guess to a large extent, you have the ball is in your court. So think about it. What is the motivation for even keeping your child in school in the first place? All right. Okay. Yes. Another question. Okay. Lois has already responded to somebody's question there. Mrs. Ojenka says, I would like to know if there's a limit to information you can give an inquisitive 6-year-old child about sex education. I have practically given more than what I gave my older kids at this age. Okay, I didn't cover anything on sex education in the book. It's actually also still a learning curve for me as well. I'm not even an expert in that direction, and I'll not make any promises or let you know this is what you do, this is what you should do, and stuff like that. But for a 6-year-old, if it's a boy, I think it's better that daddy does the education. If it's a girl, I think that mommy is better to do the education. Mr. Ojenka, you're a mom anyway. So if that's for your girl, then it's important to introduce some things, small information. But one thing I've learned from one seminar that I attended, though, is call things what they are. Vagina is vagina, it's not VJJ or whatever it is. Buttocks is buttocks, so you can still call it bum bum. Bum bum is what bum bum is. Breast is breast, not plastic, whatever it is. People have learned to call it plastic. So that's what I'll say. Okay. Okay, somebody says that's dicey. Okay, great. All right, so I believe, have I covered all the questions? I need to stop asking my child why she's questioning my authority then. God help me to conscious. Amen, God help us all. God help us all. Okay. Is there any question? Parenting must be deliberate. Thank you for that comment, Osayo. All right, I think to a large extent, okay, I'm just scrolling down, seeing more. I am happy I joined this program. I'm happy about that. Thank you. Brother John, nice to read from you. Okay. That's great, Brother John. Thank you very much for joining from Enugu. All right, repetition is key. Thank you, Ade. Crying is not communication. That's very true, Pastor Ade. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I believe I've covered all the questions. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, I will go and drink my tea, and then I'll hand it over to Lois, who's going to, take it a bit further. I think we have just about we've shut our time, but we'll just give us about 10 minutes more of your time. Thank you.
Hi guys. Are we tired? I want to say thank you to everybody who has stayed till this time. We don't take it for granted. God bless you. So very fast, who is ready? We are doing fastest fingers first. And this is the point where you are going to get prizes as well. But before we go there, please, can we all see what I'm sharing on my screen? Can we see this beautiful flyer that I did, by the way? Yes, let me help myself. I sell my market. So please, can we see the account number? It's very bold, though. Please, you guys, please buy a book, support us, please. Buy for a friend, buy for even the people that are not your friends, maybe they're not parenting their children right. Buy this book, help them. Some people don't know any better. If they know better, they will do better. If they don't know better, I mean, help somebody to help somebody so that your children in future will not be marrying children who were not taught right. Amen? It's not our portion. Okay, so Fabi, you're going to help me be looking at the comment section and taking note of who answers my questions first. Right, so are we ready? Drum roll. If you have pledges, you can send us messages privately, or you can raise your hand and you can unmute and speak while the game is going on. All right, so are we ready? This is fastest fingers first. Stay very close to your keypad because engagement does what? Can give you a chance to win a gift. All right, so my first question, very funny question, right? But let's go. First question, have you ever shouted at your child? So yes or no, fastest fingers, fastest fingers. Okay, I'm saying yes, yes. Can we see who was the first person to say yes, please? Please note it. Okay, please help me note.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Next question. Have you shouted on your child today? Yes or no? I'm saying yes. Okay. That's okay. You know, is yes or no? Is a yes or no question, but who answers first? You're saying yes or no. Okay, let me take that question again. Hold on. Okay. This question is A or B. A is yes, B is no. But it's A or B. Don't type yes or no. And don't type yes. If you type yes, you are disqualified. Hello? I'm in charge now. Okay. Have you shouted on your child today? A or B? Fastest finger, fastest finger. A is yes, B is no. Okay. Okay. Have you ever cried over your children? Have they gotten to the point? Hold on, hold on. Oh my God, people are already typing. Hold on. I will tell you before you answer. Okay, so I will ask the question. I'll tell you what you should type, and then you reply. I'll change the code, definitely. I will change the code. I said, now the question, don't type here too. I have to give the instruction and say, okay, you can answer now. Have you ever cried over your children? Now, this is a definitely, and no, not really. Definitely, no, not really. You can answer now. Fastest finger. Okay. Okay, we have end of that question. End of that. Okay. No, not really. Ojenka. Okay, my next question. What is usually your first reaction to a tantrum? Now, if you have toddlers, this question is for you. What is usually your first reaction to a tantrum? Now, the options: shout. Second option, walk away. You can answer. Oh, shout, shout, shout. We are not shouting parents, so we are calm parents. God will help us. It is hard, but we can do it. And you can use your community. Please use your community. Hugs. Oh, Chehu, that's not my option. I said shout or walk away. We are sincere parents. Okay. Are we ready for the next question? Okay. Are we ready for the next question? What is one thing your child does that you love? Now, this one, just feel free to type your answer. But wait, don't type. If you type now, you're disqualified. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Oh my God. Oh, who answered first? Greetings. Oh, they can hug for Africa, Shem. I know, right? Your children are huggers. Okay. So next question. We just have 3 more questions after this one. What is your biggest issue with parenting? I'll count to 5 and then you can type your answer. 1, 2. I know some people have typed. No, Imo, please, you are disqualified from this round because I said I'll count to 5 first. Nobody should type. I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Esther is disqualified. Emma is disqualified. Go. Rebellion. I saw rebellion. Wow. Okay. Someone said, oh yes, not fighting back. Okay. Valid. People's opinions. Sharon, let's not go there. People will always think that, oh, what you are doing, you should do it like this. I've heard so many opinions. I'm homeschooling my daughter and people keep saying, oh, she's so brilliant. Take her to school. Don't dull her shine. And no, excuse me. Sorry. Let's have a conversation. The brilliance that you're saying, is this school that did it? Please. If it's working for you, it's working for me. Do what works for you. All right, next question. And you can say no to answer this question. Some of these questions are just to help us be vulnerable. Because I found out that parents, we keep things inside a lot. We don't seem to see people who are, experiencing what we're experiencing because we don't share a lot. So this question, you can decide not to answer it, but I'm going to ask anyway. And then I'll count 1 to 3 and then you answer. Are you and your partner on the same page about parenting? 1, 2, 3. Answer. Yes or no? Okay. Last question. Drum roll. Okay. Now this one, I'm going to read it very slowly because the last question. And I'm going to count 1 to 3. Are we ready? Show some love with your favorite emoji. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Hey. Where are my emojis? Where are my emojis? Where are my emojis? Okay, I can see them. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Okay. Now my last question. Mention one thing. Mention one thing that your child has taught you. One thing. Now I'm going to count 1 to 3. 1, 2, 3, go! I'm sure. Oh my God. Oh my patience, my God, to calm down. Oh my God, like you guys, it's like you're in my house with me. Patience. I used to think I'm a very patient. In fact, I used to say I'm a very patient person. But when I became a mother, especially when my daughter became a toddler, I knew that I need to pray for more patience to add to my own. And someone said to be friendly. It's true now. If you have a child that is greeting the whole neighborhood, when you go out, they are greeting everybody, and you don't want to greet some people, you have to smile. Hi, customer. Answer all your difficult questions to answer all your. Oh, it's got to be patient. I know, right? Comfort, patience. All right, guys. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go through. Did anybody answer fastest finger first? Wow, and there's no repeat. Wow. Okay, so we have 6 people, 7. AI, please type your name. This is for parents only. Sorry, I forgot that we have aspiring parents in the house. I'm so sorry. Okay, aspiring parents who have those who are parents, don't type. We know you. Those who are aspiring, what is one thing that a child has taught you? You know, assistant that you have learned in beautiful. What is one thing that you have learned today? 1, 2, 3, go. Ayotola, where are you? I'm looking for you because you say you want to win something today.
I'm a parent, so I'm not aspiring. I'm a parent. You see, my children walked in while I'm having this one now. So please, you know, I could not hurry because of my parenting duties. So I think I just win by default.
I think someone says don't shout at your. Oh, AI is Adebisi Lan. Oh, BB. AI is BB. Okay. So we have 7. Consciously allow my children to ask. There are plenty. My darling sister, please let them ask. It's better that they ask us than go outside and ask other people. It's better they ask us. So when my daughter says why, in fact, my daughter's one is there. Mommy, why? I explain. Okay, why? Why to my why? Okay. And then you explain, and then you say another why and say, you know what? That's how it is. But why? At that junction, I either change the subject or I call her daddy. Our dad, come and answer this question. Okay, so we have 7 people, and everybody's going to get a gift. So I don't know how. Are you excited about that? I don't know how we're going to do this, but I have earrings for 3 people. And Uncle Leke, what's your gift? A copy of the book for 4 people. So I'm just going to pass. I know the people that are not getting a copy of the book. Mrs. Funto, you have an earring for me. Bibi, you have an earring. Mrs. Ojainka, you get a copy of the book. Temi Akiwande, yes, gets a copy of the book. Imo gets a copy of the book. Please, who is Ibere Amadi? Can you like show us? Let's see your face, please, if you don't mind. Imo, please type in your full name in the comment section, please. Thank you so much. Wow. Is it? Okay, so Uncle Leke, we call him Uncle Leke. My darling husband, Mr. Leke, is going to type his phone number, so you can reach out to him for your book, and you can reach out to him for the earring as well. So wait, we have not finished distributing. Ibere Amadi, please, is this you? Ibere Amadi, please indicate, are you female or male? And Imor, please, we need to know. Messi Ayola, you're getting an earring as well. So the remaining two will get a copy.
To offer to you, Messi.
Yeah, she's not far, and there's no problem. Oh, okay, Ibere is, wow, you get a copy of the book. Please, Imor, we are still looking for who is Imor. Please type in your full name.
All right.
So let me hand over to my husband.
Please, if there's anybody who would like to make a donation, you can.
Please donate.
Oh, Mr. Etim, you will not get, Mr. Etim, your mom will not get here. Don't worry. Mr. Etim, I'll send a copy of the book to you. Okay. All right. So I know how to contact Mr. Etim anymore. I know how to contact Mrs. Ojenka. So Ibiri Amadi, please just boss me on WhatsApp. I've put my phone number there. Mrs. Akinwande, I want to be sure I have the exact Akinwande correctly, but please, you can also buzz me on WhatsApp as well. All right, so thank you very much, everyone. If there's anybody who would like to make a donation, thank you to the Olomo First. They just donated 10,000, or rather they pledged 10,000 to launch the book. I don't know if there's any other person who has anything to pledge. You may just type it in the chat box, or you can raise your hand if you want to give voice to your donation, or you can just do it quietly. The account details are right there, and just send. I am more of a quiet type of person. I just send my money and not make anything public. But it's fine if you want to make it public. We'll be happy to have that. Okay, so Ayatola, do you want to give us some ushering out?
That's been a wonderful time of learning, and I'm so full. It's like a whole banquet. I feel. You said what?
She said it's like a master class.
You know, everybody just coming with nuggets here and there. It's amazing. If you've learned, I know some people said it, but I really want to see if everyone, or you're tired and you want to sleep, if you learned something, just say hi with the reaction emoji. Yes, that's one person. Yes, amazing. I love that everyone had learned one or two things, and I hope that you're able to practicalize it and just raise great children with this speed. Amazing.
Okay,
thank you. I've had such a
wonderful time. Raising hands. I don't know if they want.
No, it's just a reaction emoji.
I'm saying that 3 participants are.
Who?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, so I've had a good time here today, and I've learned a lot. Thank you so much, Uncle Leke. Thank you. Yeah, so we've come to the end of it. If you don't have anything else, this has been amazing.
The co-host is saying you're not thanking her.
You know that this is the moment you told me that I don't have a giveaway, that's when I've planned you. I just said, okay, you just told me that I don't get anything. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm a whole parent. Why would you say that? Okay, so thank you so much, co-host. You have been amazing. I mean, all of this work that you did in and out, you're everywhere. You're in the chat, you're in the text, you're everywhere. It's okay. No, I don't. You are the co-author of the book, obviously. Exactly. You just don't have your name here because you're not proud. Thanks so much to everyone that made it here.
Hi, people. Thank you so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you so much. Uncle Leke, any last words for the day?
Okay, perhaps I would appreciate it if people would turn on their videos so that we can take a screenshot of everybody. I'll just like to say, while people are preparing that, to say a big thank you to everyone. This would not have become a success without you. We appreciate you all. Wow, I'm happy to see these faces. Hey, Okay, so let's just take a picture. Mr. Denny, good to see you. Where's that thing?
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Uncle Akins and Uncle Femi. Good to see you. Mr. Denny, good to see you.
Well done.
Mercy, all the way from Ofa. Mr. Alagbe, good to see you. NG,
Congratulations.
Thank you, Pastor Noel, and thanks for your quiet contribution. Your donation was received. Awesome. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, all right. Mwauzi. I am trying to pronounce that name. Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Adini G, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Etirimo, and congratulations on winning as well. Ibiri Amadi in Port Harcourt. Don't worry, you'll get your book. All right, Mrs. Ekwaba.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm taking screenshots as we're going on. Thanks to everyone. Adeye representing, correct.
Where's Bishop? Where's Bishop?
What's that? What's that? Is he where they are? You want to cause wahala. Brashi Walamofe, good to see you. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you to everybody. Angie, so this is what you look like in real life. We cannot hear you.
Sorry, this is my real face.
This is your real face. Congratulations as well to you as well. Thank God.
Well done. I need to get a copy of the book.
Definitely.
I'll
all the way in
see
Abuja.
Yeah.
All the way in Abuja, we'll send it. We shall send it. We have many people in Abuja who are asking as well, so we'll just put them out together. This is Nwauzi Chi. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all. This, honestly, I didn't expect it to be as widely attended as this. I would have made an alternative to stream live. Several people were buzzing me on WhatsApp to say they couldn't make it in. I honestly am surprised. Thank you so much. Over 100 people, really. Honestly, this is great. So this has taught me a lesson that I should know that people are interested about in this subject, a lot more people than I know, and people also love and care about me and Lois, our family, very much. So we should therefore not limit ourselves to 100. We should therefore extend the frontiers. Okay, so I didn't see Jared. I just missed that. Oh no. Oh yeah, Jared is right there. Okay. Blessed, good to see you. And Mrs. George just also breezed in briefly. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you.
Have a lovely evening, people.
Okay, Mr. Leke, bye from
Let's hear
here.
your voice, sir. You're acting very quiet.
Have an amazing weekend.
Yes, Busai, I saw that your message, Parenting Club. Okay. Yes, we'll talk about it. We'll definitely look at that. Okay, Mr. Dini, let's hear your voice, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good one, Leke, and well done, ma. I enjoyed myself the last 2 hours. Thank you. 3 hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mommy, let's hear your voice too now.
It was really
Jared is making noise in the background. Okay, Mrs. Aholto signing out. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hey, the two of you went together. Where did you keep the children?
At last, I can talk. Well done, son. Well done, daughter. God bless you.
No, Sister Lucy and Noel, Pastor Noel. So both of you went together and you left the children here.
Yes.
You're honeymooning part 4.
Yes, so we need it, I beg.
Correct.
Well done, guys. Great job. Okay? Boys, well done. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
God bless you all.
Hey, you're awesome. You're awesome. God bless you. God bless you. Virgil, I don't know if you want to lend the voice too. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I had to go for a meeting. I came back to catch on the rest, and I really gained quite a bit. I gained a lot. Yeah, well done.
Thank you so much.
Eshigo, God bless you, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have something to say, Miss or Mrs. Nwaziochi? I don't know if I pronounce your name well. Ade, thanks for that. I saw your comment. Nwazichi. Do you want to say something too? You're still muted. I can't hear you.
Was it you unmute yourself?
Ah, okay. Oh, she must be a teacher.
No, I'm not a teacher, but I love teaching actually. I love learning a lot. So I want to say a very big thank you. I do appreciate. I'm lucky to be here to partake in this because this is gonna help us who have not started the work. It's going to help us a lot and make it a lot easier for us to work in the right way. Thank you so much. God bless you and also thanking you for more work ahead.
Amen. 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 It's the first book. It will not be the last by God's grace. So there's a lot more.
Amen.
There's a lot more in the pipeline. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for sticking this long. Mommy, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for your support. God bless you, Ma. Thanks to everybody. Let me just quickly do a run through of the people who are here till the end. Okay, Blessing, my ble.
It
my
is
number
well.
one fan.
Thank you. It's been great and awesome. I learned a lot too, and I believe that the book is just going to be good and okay for me to read now that I've resigned from my work, telling you officially.
Seriously?
Yes.
Going to business?
Yes, something like that, but still coming back to teaching. I can't leave that path,
True. Once you're a teacher, it's a passion, it's there for life.
Yes.
That's great.
Thank you very much. It's been great and awesome. I really enjoyed the class, and I have 3 kids. One is going into boarding house, so I think I've been able to learn some things to kind of hold on to as I join in this world of parenting. God bless you. Don't worry, we'll buy the book and then we'll tell people to buy too. As soon as it's a great and awesome time to even buy it and read now. God bless you.
Amen.
Bye.
Thank you so much. So I guess you'll be one of the people that will join it, but there's a small group I'm creating of people who help to push the book. So we're actually having a 30-day challenge starting tomorrow to push out some materials for publicity for the book. So just add people to a small group to make that
definitely
Thank you
do
so
that.
much.
We have the community since we have teachers, so I could just tell some of the people in my workplace to it's a good one. So don't worry, we'll push it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that blessing.
Amen. Yeah. Bye.
All right, my regards to the family. Okay, so Mr. Nwaziochi, I see that. Nwazichi, thank you. Mrs. Chime, Mrs. Chime, representing. Thank you so much for joining. If you have something to say, can unmute. Busayo, you're awesome. Thank you so much, Busayo. You're great. And definitely the painting club that you talked about is something that we have. I'll pray about it, and then my wife and I will definitely come up with something. Mr. Abuliman, thank you so much for joining. Debbie, just while he boss me WhatsApp, we get talk.
Hello, Mr. Leke.
Yes, I'm trying to see who's talking. Is it Mr. Nwazichi?
Wow.
Female, yeah.
Well done.
Thank you so
Well done.
much.
This is a beautiful, beautiful move.
Thank you. God bless you.
Okay, we'll talk to you on the other corner. We must donate to this cause.
No, God bless you. I appreciate that. All right. As somebody says, I need to be on channel. Yes.
Bless you.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Abuliman, thank you. Debbie, I say we get talk, well, let's talk. Mr. Dini, thank you very much. Esther, your contribution is fantastic and your questions are profound. If you want to engage me further, please do so on WhatsApp. It's just while you want to talk. Oh, yeah, let's hear your voice.
No, I just said okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Leke. But my big thanks goes to your wife, because it takes a very supportive wife to make
enter camera.
Yeah. She's the one I'm giving the big kudos to. Thank you so much, ma'am, for making him achieve this, because without you, I don't think it would be near possible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's not near possible, it's impossible without her.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to our little princess too as well. All right.
She's she's pretty much a part of this. I'm surprised. She was inserting her voice. She was inserting her voice at different times. But typically when we have a Zoom meeting or we have an online meeting, she will want to enter. She'll say, I want to see them. Hello.
Let's see her.
Nice.
Let's see her. Jay, come over now. Come over and say hi to everybody.
Let's see our little princess.
All right, come and see grandma. See grandma. See grandma.
Hi.
Hello. Yo, you didn't see grandma's. The chat is covering grandma's face. See grandma.
Hello.
Grandma, did you hear? She wants to come to Manchester.
Oh, you are free. Please come. You should have followed me when I was coming. Yeah.
All right, thank you. No, just don't worry, leave her. I think she's quite engrossed in what she's doing down there. Okay, thank you, David. David Bassey, thanks to have you. Mr. Etemi Moore, thanks and congratulations on winning. Yes, who else? NG, thank you. Mercy, you're awesome, you're great. Thank you very much and congratulations on winning. We'll send your gift to you all the way to offer. We'll find a way to get it down to you. I think my mom is even supposed to come to offer sometime at the end of this month. We have an event. I won't be able to make it, but I'll send it through her. Okay, hey, Bishop, nice to see you. Welcome, sir. Representing. Okay, let's hear your voice now. We have just attacked you. Yes, good. Oh, Mrs. Agaba, thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
I'm not in a very.
Isaac. I think I'm hearing his voice. Bishops. Oh yeah, show your voice. Show your video. We can hear your voice. I heard that. Once I heard that baritone, I knew it was you.
I'm here. I was thinking.
We can't see your face. It's only your voice we can see.
I'm not in a very good position right now. That's
why. Okay, cool. No, but thanks for rendering. Thanks for rendering your voice and your presence. I appreciate you. All right. I believe I've run through the list. This is Lucy. Thank you. I don't hear you before. Okay, mom is here. Thank you. And who else? Tito, thank you. Mrs. Agaba, thank you very much, ma. Your audio is not yet connected. I'm not quite sure you can hear me, but thank you very much. Maybe I can just type it on the box. I appreciate you. Okay, thanks to everybody. So at this point, we'll end the meeting. God bless and keep you. I wonder if there's anything. Esther, great. Please connect me on channels. So let's see what will happen.
Gladly come. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. Have a lovely, lovely evening.
Bye, mommy. All right, bye.
Okay,